Good evening and welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show on the Friday, the 29th of September. Good evening to everybody, to the viewers and to the commenters. Initially, I have with me Lily, or Lilith Severo, I think it is, as the tag name
Cuervo.
here. Lily, welcome. For those people who don't know
Hi.
you, obviously we've got people who come on the show quite regularly, but just before we carry on, if you could just give a short intro of yourself and what your interest is in this.
Oh, basically, I'm just an ex-Muslim woman who was born and raised in Islam and left kind of started leaving when I was like 20, 21, but like officially when I was about 25.
Okay, perfect. And so your interest now in joining the show and talking about it is, what is it that you want to sort of share with people?
Well, you said that the topic this week is women in Islam.
Yeah, I mean, in
So,
general, sorry, obviously women in Islam, but what is your interest in this now, having become an ex-Muslim in general, in speaking
oh, like
about it,
why
generally
do I
speaking?
still want to talk about it?
Yes, yeah.
Um, I get that question a lot, right? It's just basically that I want to expose that maybe that's not the best word, but I want to bring to light some misconceptions that people have because there's this very fluffed up butterfly rainbows candy cane view of Islam that it's so great and it's so great for women. If it's not great for women, then that person is just doing it wrong. And I think even people who try to do it like as nicely as possible still have to cut some corners morally in order to be able to still be practicing.
Right. Okay, good. So what we're going to do initially, as I always do, is we're briefly going to go through, and do give me your thoughts as well. We'll briefly go through a few of the crazy comments as we do, and then we're going to get straight into talking about women in Islam. And obviously, we're very fortunate to have you on, having been, a Muslim and now have an ex-Muslim. Obviously, you can give us your views from being a Muslim and now looking at it, quite, from the outside looking in. So without further ado, let me just share these briefly. There we go. Let me just present that to everybody. So here's our first crazy comment of the night. This fella says, all atheists has nothing stand on. They not even know their purpose. They will deny God death coming to them one by one, take them to the hell fire. Okay, so obviously English is not, well, I hope English is not his first language. But I guess the point there is they feel like we don't have a foundation. In other words, again, maybe God is the foundation. And again, maybe, Lilith, you can give your view there. I mean, now that you're an ex-Muslim, how do you see it, having left and you don't have God in your life anymore?
Yeah,
But
like we don't have a purpose because we need someone to tell us what our purpose is. Um, I think that's ridiculous because, I told you I have younger siblings who are still Muslim, and sometimes, I talk to them, and they kind of that's one of their fears, like, oh, what am I gonna do? What's my purpose? And I'm like, you make your own purpose. It's not any different because I'm Muslim or not Muslim. The thing that I wanted to do and my passions are still gonna be the same. So that's just so silly.
yes, I mean, I obviously hear that a lot as well. For some reason, theistic people, religious people, feel like there has to be a divine purpose. This couldn't all have come about without some purpose in mind. And yet, from all the evidence that we have so far, that's exactly what happened. Now, we're not quite certain of that, but the evidence points in that direction. And so, yes, it can be. But again, people who, they've got to be a reason. If, for example, the universe didn't have a purpose, well, then of course that makes God even less useful in the big world. And so
Well,
that's the
well,
way
yeah,
it
but
goes.
not even talking about the universe, but just people, individuals in general. Sometimes they're like scared that they're paranoid because they feel like they need someone to tell them what to do because they don't trust their own mind to be able to tell them what the right thing is.
Yes, a lot. You are 100% correct. A lot of people, not just theists, but primarily theists for sure, do need to be told what to do. In other words, they want to feel comfortable that there's a message or there's a way to live that somebody, ideally not another human, or if it is, it's some fancy special human via divine intervention, has given them this information. Then they don't have to question. Then they don't have to look at the big questions or consider things and go, hey, this has come down from on high, supposedly, and I don't have to question. All we have to do is obey. And you're right, there's a lot of that going on. And of course, that's quite the easy way out, because there's a lot of problems here that obviously don't have solutions that come from a theistic point of view. So they've now got to, those people who are theists, who do want to think about some of the bigger topics, they now have to engage their own critical thinking, and they have to think about the topics where there aren't any answers coming on from on high. But most people, you're right, just want a simple life. And if I'm being told what to do and I know, or I believe I know it's correct, well, then all I have to do is carry on following that. Good. Next one. Here's one of my regular trolls. Rob, you couldn't handle Hamza. And fuck you, Imam, brother, you bastard, retard, bitch. And then one of the atheist fellas here replies, here come the Islamic scholars. Fuck you, Rob, deluded. Fuck. Okay, so obviously just another one of these trolls.
That's nice.
He doesn't disappoint.
I feel the love. Do you feel the love?
Yes, exactly. The religion of peace and love, of course. Except for a few million or more. Probably hundreds of millions. There we go. So just one of those nutty ones. Welcome, Abu. Good to see you, my good sir. Here's another one.
Thank you.
Sarah, prove the black dead voices you worship, idiot. You read some books about dictionary and try to be black smart ass. Sarah, idiot, who create death and life, you become man from slime fluid. How is that blackhead? Okay, so obviously, as soon as anybody questions, you do get the odd, almost like, I guess, like a bit of a nutcase. Obviously, again, we would hope that English is not the first language, or if English is his first language, then obviously school wasn't attended very well, and certainly there wasn't any spelling lessons at school.
Oh, no, I mean, you can really tell that whoever explained abiogenesis to him didn't do a very good job.
Yes, exactly. The slime, yes. So again, just somebody that's mad that people are questioning. But that's, again, I don't know. Do you get that, Lily, a lot? I mean, obviously you're still getting into this, but I'm no doubt you get pushback from theists whenever you encounter them. Do you sort of get any somewhat hostile comments or responses?
I haven't been cursed out yet. I think that when I do get my first curse out comment, I'll throw a party.
Okay, be sure, please, to send it on to me, and I'll definitely include it in our crazy comments section.
I do have I actually have a collection of comments that's growing, and it's almost 50 of them that I've screenshotted, and I'll probably end up making a video of them because they're great. They're golden. Okay, so I won't hijack yours. You do a video of all of yours, and then, unless you want to keep doing videos of it, throw a few of the choice ones my way, and then we'll just add it to the list here. Perfect. Okay, let's go on to the next one. We haven't got too many to do here. Let me just make this a bit bigger. This guy's come on recently onto the channel. You guys are liars, and just here to mock. It's obvious. You pathetic people lie on our blessed prophets, saying and make up things. No one forcing you chimps to believe in what we believe, but don't lie on Islam. Also, I'm not going to reply any further because firstly, you guys are jokers, and also, secondly, won't get much sense out of monkeys. Great stuff. Well, whoops. Thank goodness for that. I like that he said no one's forcing you to believe what we believe, but Dawa exists, and it's a thing that is promoted, and there's, like I said before, all those prophecies about how Islam is going to dominate the world, and that's why people think Islam is going to dominate the world. Yes, and if you look at any of the Muslim majority countries, it's not as free as it is here, and that's being very charitable in some countries, as you well know. And where were you originally? What was your original country of birth? Apart from the US, I mean, your ancestors, I mean. Me? Yes. Oh, they're not like Arab at all or African or anything. Well, kind of. I'm half black, but cool. American. Okay, fair enough. So you wouldn't be one of the Middle Eastern countries where, in fact, it's not like you're forced on pain of death to believe, but you certainly are restricted from voicing your opinions about disbelieving or certainly saying certain things that we have the freedom to do here and in the US. So it's only a matter of time potentially
it's not that you forcing you chimps to believe, but it's not necessarily that. But you it may be a case, and I'm not sure if there's any country that's that bad where you are literally forced to believe, but certainly you are certainly highly what's the word? Encouraged not to voice too much disbelief. Let's put it that way. All right, last one of the evening. Let's just bring that up a bit bigger. So this guy, right? Atheists will support atheists and Muslims will support Muslims. It's bias. So do your own research before commenting. And I just put there, some of us support evidence, most Muslims don't. I think this was in relation to some other video where, it was the full video where the latest one that I put up on my channel where the camera is pointed towards the ground because the Muslim didn't want to be on camera. So there was about an hour conversation there with Phil, who's obviously an expert in cosmology and seems to know a little bit about
I feel like
evolution.
I saw this before. Actually, that same username, because I recognize it, Irfan Samo, he wrote something similar on another video, like the same exact thing, word for word. Like I commented, and then he replied the same thing. You're just supporting the other person because it's because they're an atheist and not because you're using your brain.
Yes,
I was like,
of
no.
course. No, it's biased. Oh, and now that I'm back looking at the screen there, because I was obviously reading off the comments, I want to welcome Sarah. Good evening, Sarah. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you can. Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, I said I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. It's a pleasure to have both of you on here. The topic for this evening, as you are well aware, is women in Islam, which is obviously quite a general, wide topic. But I'd like to get started just again generally. If each of you could share for 5 or 10 minutes, whatever works for you, your beliefs just in general, and obviously you'll hit certain topics, but just share in general your view about women in Islam, i.e. what it was like for you in Islam, and now looking from the outside looking in. So whoever wants to start, go ahead.
Maybe I should go first. Okay. This is kind of funny because when I was actually experiencing it, I had mixed feelings. I didn't feel like I was the most liberated and non-oppressed. Of course, wouldn't use the word oppressed to describe myself because that's not how I felt. But I also didn't feel like I was free to do whatever I wanted. But of course, looking back, I would say that I was definitely more restricted than what I should have been or whatever. But well, I felt like there were certain things that I had an obligation to do, and it wasn't so much that I wanted to do them, but I just didn't have a choice. So I pretty much just resigned myself to, the basic things, wearing hijab, wearing, really long, dark clothes in the summer and sweating a lot and having to endure the heat because, somebody comes and tells you, hey, it's better to endure a little bit of heat here than to endure the heat of hell. So it's not that I wanted very much to wear all that stuff. It was just that I kind of resigned myself to it, like, oh, I guess it's not that bad. It was more of a apathetic kind of attitude towards it. It wasn't that I was promoting it for anyone. I actually did get kind of jealous when I would see other girls my age that were in different families that didn't have to go through the motions and wear the things that I was wearing. I did feel like they were lucky and that like I wish that I could wear those things. But that's part of the brainwashing is like, oh, you want to be able to wear a bathing suit and go to the pool like a normal person, you'll be able to go to your pool in Jannah. It's no problem. Like, don't worry about it. So so you pretty much don't think about it too much, and therefore by not thinking about it, you don't give yourself this like emotional turmoil.
So it's almost like
and
you just get on with life.
Yeah, I kind of just resigned myself to it as, oh, I don't really have a choice, so I can't really complain, kind of thing. And the other big thing was having brothers. Being raised in a Muslim household and having brothers and being a girl, you see how much freedom and how much privilege boys have in comparison to, you know, myself or to other girls and stuff in general.
I feel
And
you.
so it's not just yeah, it's not just comparing yourself to daughters from other families. You're comparing yourself to siblings, to children within your own family. So you're like, wow, my brothers get away with murder. They can do whatever, figuratively, obviously, they can do whatever they want. They really can. They can go out. They can wear whatever they want. They don't have a curfew, really. They can date. They're not being pressured to get married young. You know, they weren't getting pressured to look for a wife when they were 16. So there was so much more opportunity. They were encouraged to do things that would give them the opportunity later in life to get a job easier and to join society, you know, later. Because it's like when you when you grow up sheltered and then you go and try to find a job, you realize that, oh, look, I don't have any references because I wasn't allowed to talk to anyone. Oh, you know, I wasn't in any extracurricular activities. I didn't volunteer. I didn't do anything. I was restricted from having a social life, and that damages your integration later in life when you're trying to just function in society. So
Preach. This is exactly what I
I know.
wanted
Uh,
to say. You
so
said
so
what I
you
wanted
know,
to say.
the difference about women in Islam, I'm not comparing women in Islam with women out of Islam. I'm comparing women in Islam with men in Islam. Because the men in Islam, even if they're not technically like allowed to date, when, for example, yeah, they're not allowed to date, like it's still zina, it's still a sin. But if your mom catches her son and he's, you know, messing around with a girl, it's not the end of the world. It's like, oh, we kind of expected that from him. He has a girlfriend. He's been kissing this girl. If her daughter does it, oh my gosh, you know, it's an atomic bomb just dropped on the household. She's devastated. She's crying. Oh my gosh, my daughter kissed a boy when she was like 20 years old. Oh my gosh, she had her first kiss. She didn't even do anything with him. She's still a virgin. She didn't even fuck him. But it's the end of the world because she's like just wants to date, or like even not even want to date, but like just wants to do, you know, normal things. But you know, they put so much emphasis on the whole virginity thing. And for what Sarah, your connection is kind of cutting in and out, but they put so much emphasis on the virginity thing and the purity of a woman that it's kind of like backwards to me. I don't understand like how the younger and younger they will try to encourage their daughters to get married, you know, at 15, 16, or even younger, because they're trying to preempt her sexual growth. So like normally if she wouldn't have even started getting these urges until she was 20, they're trying to get to get her to get married before she even has those feelings naturally. When she's, you know, because I said before, both my parents introduced me to guys when I was 16, and I wasn't even thinking about boys back then. So it was kind of, I felt like it was backwards. Like, you know, I'm trying to be pure here, like you said, but you're trying to
I feel
get me married, get someone to fuck me. Like, I'm too young to be doing that. But just because of my age, you're imposing these ideas that you have about my maturity, about my sexual maturity and growth. And so when when I actually do start to reach that level, which is quite late by, you know, by normal standards, you know, 20 years old, it's kind of late to finally start to have those feelings. And there's so much emphasis put on marriage, you know, and marriage is probably the big, I would say marriage is the second biggest commitment you can make in your life, because you can have a child, you can't divorce your child. But aside from having a kid, if you get married, that is a huge commitment. And they just, in Islam, marriage is treated like nothing. Like everyone is encouraged to get married. So, you know, I think it's damaging to encourage a very young, you know, 15, 16-year-old girl to, hey, you should start, you know, looking at thinking of finding a husband. You know, tell me if there's a guy you like, and I'll have your dad go talk to him." And she's like, "I'm 16. I'm trying to go to high school. I'm trying to pick out a college. I'm trying to, you know, I'm not concerned with marrying right now.
Yeah,
I shouldn't be thinking about that until way later." But anyway, like that was just some of the stuff that I needed to
no, absolutely right. And I think it's,
get off.
you've now come into a Western society and they bring in these old-fashioned beliefs that let's assume, if we were very charitable, that in fact women did need to be taken care of in the 7th century and they couldn't take care of themselves to some degree, which I'm not sure that's the case. Probably not, but let's assume that were the case. You know, we're now in the 21st century, certainly in the Western world anyway, and women have got so much more opportunities. They can in fact take care of themselves if they so choose to. They don't have to, of course, but they could. And so, yeah, it's bringing that mentality of, hey, look, you're a woman, you've got to be taken care of. You've got to find a man. Otherwise, you know, what would you do? Like you say, go to college, learn, study, you know, follow whatever you want to do, have a career, whatever you want to do, you know. But I guess the mentality is not that. It's still the older mentality.
I just wanted to mention one more thing before I go. This is a little off topic. It doesn't have anything to do with my personal story. But, you know, as I said before, like ethnically, I'm not like Arab or African or any type of, you know, that. My parents were converts. So you can't blame culture for these things. You'd be like, oh, that's just culture, because it's not anywhere in either of my parents' culture. It's obviously religion. And I was thinking about this the other day. There was this article I read on 17 magazine, and it was about this Palestinian girl. Well, she was actually, you know, born and raised in America, but she was Palestinian American. And when she was 15, her mom took her to Palestine and forced her to marry this guy. She basically like sold her, and, you know, he consummated the marriage, and she, you know, was not for it and everything. And it was a very long article. It was pretty sad, but it's interesting. If anyone wants to read it, it's on 17 magazine. And after that, after that article came out, there was a response article by another Muslim girl who was, I feel like she was trying to defend the image of Muslim girls in America or something like that. And so the title of the original article was "My Strict Mother Forced Me to Marry a Stranger When I Was 15." And and the girl who responded to that, the title of her article was "My Parents Did Not Take Me Overseas and Force Me to Get Married." And she was Palestinian too. So she was trying to say, like, it was funny because she was like, she got offended, but in this case, you can't blame culture, because if it was the case, then you know, they're both Palestinian. They both have the same culture. So she would have had the same fate. And why? It's because the first girl, her parents were more strict Islamically. And the second girl was trying to give this image that this wasn't Islam. And it was really, I found it disgusting, because I felt that the second girl was trying to belittle the first girl's experience of basically being, you know, stolen out of America and taken out of school and taken to Palestine to be, you know, given away to some random stranger. Because it's so, oh my God, like, read the story. It's like the girl, she was 15, and she was like talking to this boy at school, just talking, like they weren't even doing anything. And then one day the boy came to her house and knocked on the door, and then her dad answered, and he said, "Who are you?" And he said, "I'm her boyfriend." And by saying that, he had no idea what he had done. Like, he thought he was just, you know, introducing himself to her family. He didn't realize what he did.
What was he?
Yeah, he wasn't Muslim. He was just some
Okay.
gay, probably. Yeah. So you know, so he left or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, you know, you want to date boys? You want to be sexually active? Like, here, let's take you so you can really be sexually active." Like, the answer to your daughter or a young woman's, like, growth, like I said before, is to force her to go all in completely, even if she's not ready to be married, so that she can be truly and thoroughly, like, fucked, excuse my
Yes.
because you know, she wasn't ready for that. She didn't want to do that. She was just like literally talking to the boy, like she might have kissed him once or twice, but But like her mom was like, oh, it's time to marry you off. So she took her, she probably sold her for like a dowry or something. And then she left her there with the guy, and left her there without a phone or anything. And then, she managed to get into contact with someone from the embassy, and they were able to bring her back to America and get her placed into a foster home with a family that adopted her. So there was a happy ending, but it was just the thing that was the most disgusting was the fact that this other girl read this girl's, story. And it was in 17 magazine, which is like a really popular magazine. And then she was like, oh, I have to prove that this doesn't represent us. And so she went out of her way to try to belittle, and downgrade like that girl's story as if it wasn't as serious as it was. Anyway, I'm done.
Crazy. Yeah.
Can I ask what the guy that was trying to belittling her, what kind of person was that?
Well, it was a girl. It was another Palestinian American girl. And she basically wrote a response article with a picture of herself. And she said, this is my upbringing by my Muslim Palestinian parents in America. They don't force me to wear hijab. They let me go to sports. They let me travel and go to special schools. They let me study abroad. And, she clearly, her parents were like very lenient, maybe, probably religiously as well. And they let her go to other countries by herself and study. And that,
Hello?
I'm sorry, that's something that, yeah, Sarah, you're not muted. That's something that even my parents wouldn't have done. Sarah, we can hear you. You probably can't hear us.
Go ahead, Sarah. If you can say anything there, let's just see if you're coming through. Sarah, are you there? Can you hear us?
I don't know. Maybe she can't hear us. But yeah, I was just saying it was funny how she was trying to say like Muslim parents don't restrict their daughters. They let them be free and go join sports and extracurricular activities and let them go to different countries and study abroad. And I'm like, no, they don't, because my parents culturally have no ties to any of this. Like my actual culture, tracing back like my bloodline, there's none of this in my culture of the things that my parents did, and yet they wouldn't have let me go do that. So I just felt like she was just being so dishonest.
You know what my guess is? This might be wrong, but I would bet my money that the woman who made this article or whatever it was, that she is kind of she comes from a secular family that is very left-wing. So immediately when someone tells a true story about what happens in Muslim families that doesn't fit their narrative, then they have to go after them and say, oh, you're on the wrong side. This doesn't happen at all. That's my guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. But someone else can talk now for a second if you want.
Let's see if Sarah is there. Sarah, are you there? Can you hear us? Please do respond if you do hear us. Just jump in. You are not muted, as far as I can tell here. No, you are in the broadcast, and we should be seeing you, and you should be hearing us, and we are here to listen to you. But in the meantime, as long as Lily's still here, so obviously, Lily, you touched on the inequality as you see it between man and woman in Islam itself. Share with us some of your thoughts to the degree that you're able and willing around some of the other issues that you might see with women in Islam as you now look at it from the outside looking in. So something like, circumcision, or more commonly known as female genital mutilation, FGM. Any thoughts on that?
As far as like not speaking from a concept of inequality, well, I don't feel that I have a place to talk about that, because obviously I haven't experienced that. And for the longest time, I myself am guilty of using apologetics to say that has nothing to do with Islam. In the past, like years ago, I remember, saying that that's not Islam, that's a cultural thing. Oh yeah, she dropped out. But you know, even male circumcision is like kind of a touchy, weird subject. It's curious because, you know, you're being told that there's a thing that you have to cut off because of the perfect design. So God designed us so perfectly that he gave us something that we don't need and that we have to cut off. He gave us a lot of things we have to cut off, apparently.
Yes.
I just want to add that female circumcision is not really perhaps correct word, but khitan is considered by some scholars to be wajib, meaning obligatory, and by some to be sunnah, which means is good, but you don't have to do it.
Well, let's have a look here. Interestingly, somebody sent this to me, so let's have a quick look here. Hopefully people can see this.
That's a good source.
So here, this is Islam question and answer. And the question is, can you explain to me what is the medical benefit of girl circumcision? So praise be to Allah. Just as Allah has created mankind, he has guided them that which is best suited for their interest in the world and in the hereafter. So he sent them messengers and revealed books to guide mankind to what is good and urge them to follow it, and to teach them what is evil and to warn them against it. Islam may enjoin or forbid something, and the people, most of them, may not be able to see the wisdom behind this command or prohibition. In that case, we are obliged to obey the command or heed the prohibition, and to have certain faith that the laws of Allah are all good, and even if we cannot see the wisdom behind it. Well, of course, there we go, down the rabbit hole immediately. When we're not there to think about this or to ascertain whether in fact it is beneficial or not. We just need to accept it, because there might be some wisdom that we're not aware of. I mean, you know, this is just where critical thinking just stops working automatically. Circumcision is one of the sunnahs of the fitra, as is indicated by the words of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. The fitra is 5 things, or 5 things are part of the fitra: circumcision, shaving the pubes, plucking the armpit hairs, cutting the nails, and trimming the moustache, narrated by Al-Bakira and Muslim. Undoubtedly, with regard to sunnahs of the fitra, some of the wisdom behind them is obvious, and that includes circumcision. There are clear benefits to it, which we should pay attention to and understand the wisdom behind it. And then they talk about where they've, in some of the other questions, where they've answered some of those. We move on a little bit there. Circumcision is prescribed for both males and females. The correct view, maybe that should be in inverted commas, as you said, Abu, there's some views that say it is or isn't. The correct view is that circumcision is obligatory for males, and that is one of the symbols of Islam, and the circumcision of women is mustahab, but not obligatory. So maybe before we carry on, you can, both of you.
Mustahab means from the verb same as hub, meaning love, meaning that is loved by God. So God loves female circumcision, although it's a weird word. But it's not, according to this sheikh, it's not wajib. But some mashayikh think that it is wajib for women also.
Yes, which is what he basically says here. There are reports in the Sunnah that indicate that the circumcision for women is prescribed in Islam. In Medenia, there is a woman who circumcised women, and the Prophet said to her, "Do not go to the extreme in cutting. That is better for the woman and is more liked by the husband." Female circumcision has not been prescribed for no reason. Rather, there is wisdom behind it and brings many benefits. Okay, let's just look at some of these benefits. I just briefly read some of these. So here's Dr. Ahmed, blah, 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 and he says...
He's a doctor.
A doctor or something, yes. I mean, people put DR in front of their name. It could be a doctor, you know, an honorary doctorate in philosophy, who knows? Normally, when you see DR, you normally think medical, but my experience is that's far from the case these days. You can be a doctor in, you know, either honorary or, in fact, an actual PhD in something or further in many different fields, and so DR doesn't necessarily mean much. The secretions of the labia minora accumulate in uncircumcised women and turn rancid, so they develop an unpleasant odor, which may lead to infections of the vagina or urethra. I have seen many cases of sickness caused by a lack of circumcision. Oh, really, doctor? And what about the billions of women who are not circumcised and who don't have that? What about that?
I'm not sick. Hey, I'm gonna go and mute myself for a second, but I will still be listening in, and I'll come back and let you know when I'm back.
Cool, no problem. Thank you so much for joining us. And
I mean, this shows how stupid their thinking is. There's so. Hello, Sarah.
Are you there, Sarah? Yes.
Yes, you have
Issues with my internet.
Okay, we're hearing you better now.
I was gonna say, why didn't God design humans perfectly? Why did he create them with these extra parts that, I mean, if he's so perfect and he's so wise and amazing, did he make an extra piece, like obviously on the penis and then on the vagina? Like, it's weird. Like, he's supposed to be perfect, right?
Well, yes.
And I don't know, it's strange to me. Like, I feel like it's kind of more, I feel like it was a human who created this, and he was like, you know, how can we stop people from masturbating their sensitive parts? That way they're not going to get any stimulation. I mean, it's going to be harder for them to get stimulation. For women, they're not going to get stimulation at all, because usually when they cut off the clitoris, it's pretty much everything, because a man has more like the skin, but the women don't have that.
Yep.
It's just strange to me, because I feel like why don't people think about that? Like, if God is so amazing, why didn't he create humans perfectly, like the way that he wanted them to be? Why? And also,
carry on there, Sarah. You've gone. We don't hear you. Oh,
hello, can you hear me?
Yes, now there you go.
Sorry, my mom called me.
Okay.
I think she's gonna call me again. I'm sorry if it cuts off again, but I was gonna say, they always talk about plastic surgery and how God doesn't like plastic surgery or something, or changing what's natural, and you're not supposed to change what's natural. But isn't having extra skin, like the man having extra skin on his penis, natural? And isn't a woman having a clitoris natural? And also, you know, having the libias, kind of, it depends. Every woman is different, but you know, some of them have one that's kind of bigger than the other. So I feel like that's kind of weird to want to reconstruct or change something in the most sensitive parts of your body. So yeah.
Yes, and if there are any Muslims watching, please do share with us and see if you can answer Lily's question. Why, if you got this all perfect, all wonderful God who supposedly created us perfect, are there instructions? And I guess the answer to your question, if I just take it, is that, to quote here, it's not been prescribed for no reason. Rather, there's wisdom behind it and brings many benefits. But again, that goes to your question, Sarah, which is, well, if there are in fact benefits, then surely we, men and women, would have been created without these appendages or additions that are seemingly, according to this supposed doctor anyway, not beneficial to us. So the question does remain. In other words, you would have to give us a reason, if you're a Muslim and you're listening. Why is it that, you know, God, if you claim God is a perfect creator, and we are created perfect in a physical sense, because it's not like this is a deformity in one or two people. This is obviously part of creation of every human being pretty much on the planet. And so if that's the case and you are a Muslim listening, please share with us, what is it, or how do you explain a perfect God who supposedly created us perfect, and yet there's some views here by certain people, and potentially in the Hadith and the Quran, which suggest that circumcision is required. So yes, let's see if there are any comments on that. Abu, maybe you can share a few views there, your view, before we carry on.
No, but like, okay, so in there is actually a kind of almost a neuroscience, or this kind of neuroscience behind what happens to both in the male case and the female case. So it's not just, in the male case, it's not just skin, because it's on the inside of that skin there is more neurons and more kind of sensitivity. So it's kind of weird. I mean,
oh yeah, of course, it's because they're trying to take away the pleasure from the man and the women. They're trying to take away the nerve endings that give them pleasure, because the top part, the skin that they remove, is similar to the clitoris. It has the same nerve endings. So
if I remember
really
this correctly, it's similar to the G point, I think.
Oh,
but
for the men?
Yeah, but
oh wow,
you can go and
that's
look.
sad. I feel bad for circumcised men.
there are neuroscientists that have I'll explain this, but the point is, evolution has created these parts for very good reasons, and I mean, it's just stupid, so stupid.
And I just want to welcome in Stopspamming. Welcome, good evening, sir. Joining us a little bit later today.
Hi, sorry about that. Yeah,
no worries. So, obviously, chatting about women in Islam, and I'm going to bring up that response again. But
yeah, I just heard my favorite topic, the G-spot. Come on, brilliant.
Yes, indeed. And obviously, Lily was on.
I mean, do men still have it? I mean, do men have a G-spot though?
No. It's only women, and not all women have, and it's different between individuals.
I mean, it's just because you said that oh, sorry about that. My little cousin is crying, you guys. But I was saying, I thought you said that that skin part is similar to it. So
I don't remember exactly. You can go.
So you have the outside labia. Okay, there's different things here.
Stops did say it was his favorite topic, so here
exactly. So yeah, there's two different levels here. Okay, you have two layers of labia outside lips, and then on the inside, underneath that, in the top, it looks like I don't know. Do you know the funny bone in a chicken? The one that you pull for good luck and things like that. That's basically what the clitoris looks like. And it comes together at the top where you have a mini penis, actually. And this is the part that normally gets cut off because the labia, as such, is not really the center of the pleasure zone.
There you go.
I always suspected that the clitoris was a mini little tiny penis.
Okay, so there's no penis envy necessary, hey?
But yeah, I don't know. It's weird to me because I'm pretty sure they say even changing your eyebrows is an issue in Islam. So why is it okay to cut off skin?
But because you're not changing your eyebrows for God. This is a sign of worship. If you are what are you doing? You are sacrificing a part of you to go and show your God that there is this. I don't know. I've done this thing where I used to read the Quran. Unfortunately, everything was deleted. But the thing is that you have this old Jewish concept of a covenant. And this is the way that it works, that men and women have this covenant, which they go and they fortify, or whatever you want to call it, by sacrificing a part of themselves, which is the foreskin. And in some cases, and it's supposed to be the outer labia of women. It wasn't supposed to be the what you might call it, the pleasure zone. But I think this is when I just came in. This is what I heard you say, and that's exactly what happened. Then the churches and the different clerics then decided that it's not for a woman to have pleasure.
Yes,
that's exactly what they're trying to do. Because I always suspected it. Like they don't want women to have pleasure at all. Women are meant well, I don't know, but I'm thinking in religion, women are just there for having babies, cooking and cleaning, and being a good wifey. That's it. That's her life. Just listen and obey and do what he says. And if he wants to sleep with you, like you can't refuse him because the angels will curse you. Which I always thought was so strange. Like angels, their whole lives are just sitting on your shoulders. Like, man, she's not, sleeping with her husband. Let me just write down like a complaint and report it back to Allah. I don't know.
Yes, just as a matter of interest, Stops. Somebody in the chat there is saying, Steve Green is saying, men do have G-spots. The foreskin has a lot of nerve endings, but the weirdest G-spot is inside the anus, the prostate gland. Kind of weird addition by a God who hates gays. I've heard something.
Yeah, that's funny. I've heard of that before. I've heard that's why men. I mean, men like that. Penetration.
No, that's very, very different. The nerves are totally different. And this is why every man has a prostate, but not every woman has a G-spot.
Okay, interesting.
See, God did it again.
Too many variants.
Right, let me go back here and just let's just bring this up again, because I'm just going to finish off what was sent to me here on this particular question and answer on this Muslim site. So let me just go and share this here, present that here. So the rest of this goes as follows. The secretions of the labia, okay, that's turned rancid, and he developed this unpleasant odor, according to this doctor here. Circumcision reduces excess. Here we go. Listen to this. Circumcision reduces excess sensitivity of the clitoris, which may cause it to increase in size to 3 centimeters when aroused, which is very annoying to the husband, especially at the time of intercourse.
This is sick.
I mean, really.
Wow, that's so annoying. What about his big, I mean, maybe it's not that big, but anyways, what about his bigger thing? You know, that's just so funny to me. So he's okay. It's okay for him to like do what he wants, but a woman has to.
I mean, it's just the term excess sensitivity, as if he can choose, or men have got the right to say what is excess sensitivity.
But the weirdest thing is that women take way longer to orgasm than a man. A man just, you know, within a minute, maybe he can orgasm. I mean,
yeah, it varies woman to woman, man to man. But yes, generally
Yeah.
speaking, I think you're right. Yeah. But again,
I mean, it would be that the men are more sensitive actually, because they just have a really enlarged clitoris. Sorry,
well, certainly
I'm sorry. I'm like
in
talking.
the lovemaking thing, but I think it's more the principle here for me is the principle of, you know, this claim that there's, and this is just one person, so not all Muslims will say this necessarily, but this is on this, you know, well accepted Islamic site with Q&A type thing, which is islamqa.info, which I think a lot of Muslims do obviously write and take seriously. And
It's a brilliant site. I mean, if you want to really get tickled and you really want to laugh, just go a couple of through that. I mean, but this one is sick. Not all of them are sick like this one.
Yeah, which is, you know, excess sensitivity and the increase in size is annoying to the husband. So again, one of the reasons why this has to happen, according to this person, is because a woman would supposedly give.
This is what I don't understand. Why is it annoying for the husband?
Well, exactly. I mean,
I mean-
is this his professional medical opinion, or just something he sucked out of his thumb or his arse? Probably,
I mean,
more likely.
maybe this is just a matter of taste, but isn't it kind of boring
It
to have
sounds
sex with
like
someone?
he doesn't like it personally, and it reminds me of this video that that Lily showed me, and it was a man talking about like women and how if a man wants to come home like quickly, he just wants to have sex. He doesn't have time to be romantic. He just wants to do it because he just saw a woman outside, or he felt some sexual feelings, and it was strange. It's all about him. It's all about the man. It's all about what he wants. It's all about his sexual pleasure. Oh, he doesn't have to romance her. He doesn't have to do anything. You know, just come in, boom. Like, I mean, a woman has to be ready too.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
Yeah.
They don't consider women at all. This is another thing. Muslim people always talk about how women have so many rights. What rights do they have? Really, truly, what rights do they have? Like maybe back in the day, in that time, they gave them some rights, but really, in modern day, it's not working. And also, if it's the word of God, wouldn't it be what is it? Wouldn't it be for all time? It would apply to every single generation of people every single time, and from that time until now. But it doesn't apply anymore because now we have better rights. I mean, the American Constitution gives women more rights now, and it's not even a religious text. Anyways.
Yes, and well, it's the same across the Western world, and not necessarily just the Western world, I'm sure, but certainly that's what I'm aware of anyway. Let's just finish off with the last few of these. So obviously that's one. Another benefit of circumcision is that it prevents stimulation of the clitoris, which makes it grow large in such a manner that it causes pain. Well, to who? I've never heard of a woman ever say that. My clitoris is, grown and I'm painful. I mean, maybe that's a defect, but I've not heard of women complaining about that. So again, I mean, is this guy sucking this stuff out of his bum, or where's he getting this? Circumcision prevents spasms of the clitoris, which is a kind of inflammation. Right. Again.
I mean, it's almost like the man doesn't like women to have something that's similar to him.
Yeah.
because it's swollen. Like a penis is usually kind of it's swollen with blood or whatever. It's like similar, so maybe it turns him off. Maybe I almost feel like it's a weird homophobic thing, because he's like, oh my god, her clitoris is growing. It almost looks like a tiny little penis. I don't like men, I like women. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? And the last one, of course.
Islam QA actually said that it is not permissible for a woman to sit on top of a man because it makes the man behave like a woman. And of course, we all know that the man is the dominant part in making sex.
Oh, really? Is that what they said somewhere as well?
Yep.
Wonderful, wonderful. So again, you're prescribed what positions you can go. But the last one here, of course, is the nail in the coffin. Or
no doubt that Islam is a missionary religion.
Yeah.
Nice. The last one here: circumcision reduces excess sexual desire. Of course, we can't have excess sexual desire from a woman, can we?
But this is what I mean so stupid. Like, I don't think, I think you can prove scientifically that men are aroused by women being aroused. So if you decrease the pleasure of the man, if you decrease the pleasure of the woman. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
ultimately, the woman is the one that loses most of it. I mean, if a woman doesn't have a clitoris, I don't think that she could get sexually aroused anymore. I mean, maybe hormonally, but
yeah. But what I mean
really,
is like it's not even good for the man. So it's stupid.
I mean, it's really stupid. It's like, oh, the man, the woman is going to be on top. The man is going to be behaving like a woman. I think that a lot of men like it when a woman is on top of them. They don't have to put in as much work or something. I mean, I just feel sad for like a Muslim couple, because they're going to be listening to music and they're going to be doing all these things, but it's obviously private, so they're not going to tell anyone. So it's like, I feel like it's kind of a weird thing that how are they supposed to be a normal couple? They can't have music, they can't do anything. They're just supposed to like have one position, man on top. Your clitoris better not get swollen, girl. Like, ew.
And not only all
boom,
of that,
boom, boom.
but it's done in such a way. When boys are done, well, again, it depends on the different societies, but generally it's done it as a baby for a boy. As far as I'm aware, from the FGM that I've seen, that's not until a girl is between 6 or 7 or 8. When is it stops, Abu, Sarah? When is the
no, you can't go to the text. This is interpretation, because in Islam it doesn't say anything about that. There's this saying somewhere in one of the hadiths that the cut meets the cut, and that's it. This is what people use to justify that the woman also needs to be cut and not excessive. Those are the only 2 references that are made to the woman having to have this.
Okay, so there's nothing in there about age. So why is it
No. Same with the man. There's nothing about Muslim men. Nowhere does it say anything about Muslim men having to be circumcised. This is the funny thing. You would in the Jewish tradition, it's very much present, because we're going back to this covenant thing that I mentioned earlier. In Islam, you don't have this. This is all the interpretation and down to hadith and some obscure sentences somewhere.
I mean, ultimately, it's just copying the Jewish traditions. Because I mean, if you look at like kosher, halal, it's like parallel. Like everything is so similar to the Jewish texts and stuff, and it has nothing to do with Islam at this point. Like, because I feel like maybe at some point some people, I'm suspecting this. Maybe some people converted, like they were Jewish before and they converted to Islam and they brought on like their traditions. Like I'm not really sure that maybe that's how it started.
Well, I kept going like that. You might have.
The thing is that it's a combination of things. If you go and look at the Tanakh, which is the 3 documentations in Judaism, you will see that this is very, very much part of the whole ritualistic coming into this world. That right from the beginning you sacrifice something. And then the Christians really made it into a sick thing where they say that even if you think about something that is remotely related to women, then you have to go and you have to be, I don't know, circumcised or stoned, or I don't know what you have to do. You have to be punished. So as soon as you go and you think about something lewd, boof, that's it, you're done, you go to hell. Now, the Muslims combine this because they thought that the women is the core of all evil. So if the man, remember that the Quran is the manual, the recruitment manual for warriors for the caliph. So you don't want womanizers, and you don't want women, horny women running around tempting the men too much. They're supposed to concentrate on fighting. So you need to look at the context. You need to look at the background, the historical background of everything to understand what was going on here. So what they were doing is they were prohibiting alcohol. They were prohibiting women from having sex outside of marriage. They were trying to restrict all that, giving the men as much sex as they wanted via the back door of having sex slaves, or this funny thing with the hour-long marriage and things like that. So this all fits perfectly into the historical context.
I just want to add that there is a kind of logic to it if you look at it from like desert nomads and how they live. So there is a kind of weird logic to the whole their kind of over sensitivity, like why women are has to really be protected from any suspicion that she might get raped by if another kind of tribe enters the village and they do something, you have to cover the women up and all that stuff. It's very typical for nomad societies, although it exists more or less in most societies. They tend to be very exaggerated in nomad societies.
And it would make sense, yeah.
What's crazy is no matter how much you cover women, if a man wants to rape them, they will. I mean, if men want to rape, they will. Has nothing. I mean, in fact, they will make them even more interested in that woman because they don't know what she looks like and they want to find out. It's kind of like the hijab effect right now. I've noticed it with hijabi women being sexualized, being seen as these angels, and they're virgins and they're amazing, and he wants her. Like men have a fetish right now. Like Muslim men have a fetish for hijabi women. They see her as like the pure and amazing, and she's never been with a man, and blah blah blah. And a girl without her hijab, they might disrespect her a little bit more than a girl that's wearing hijab. But it's weird. It's like before it used to be, they used to say, oh, showing your hair, it makes a man attracted to you. But it's actually the opposite now. Like in the Muslim world, it's more attractive to have a hijab on. They don't know what your hair looks like. They can fantasize. They don't know what your body shape looks like. They can fantasize. It's like like the thrill of the chase, basically. Instead of being able to see. I
also think it's like, I heard this several times when he said that, like, if like Muslim men, they are not as attracted by when they see kuffar women because they're like, I can't have her anyway, or she's unclean and I can't have her. She's not in my.
Well, I mean, they think that they can still have them. I mean, they wouldn't hesitate to date a girl that isn't wearing hijab. I mean, in fact, I know a lot of Muslim boys, and they're like obsessed with like Kylie Jenner and like that, like the people who are really out there showing their body type and having their hair perfect and their makeup perfect. So that's what they're into. But ultimately, they want a girl who is the exact opposite to marry. They want a girl like Kylie to be with and have fun with, but a hijabi girl to have at home. And in fact, I know many Muslim dudes that that they're married and they have children and they still go out and date girls that they that they prefer. Naturally, they would prefer a girl who's like taking care of herself and she's made up, like she has her hair done, her clothes are perfect, all that. It's really weird. It's kind of sad, really, because I mean, at least they could. It's like they, instead of choosing the girl that they would feel happy with, they choose the girl that wears hijab because they think she's pure and she looks good in front of other people, and they just live this lie. They live like a double life, cheating on their wife with the girl that they actually like.
This may be a difference between like highly religious guys and like more mainstream Muslim dudes also. Like,
No, even religious men. I mean, I had a friend who was dating this guy. He was much older than her, and he was a Hajj, like a guy who goes to Hajj. That's what they called him. And you know, to the outside world, he looks like a very nice, you know, Islamic man who wouldn't even look at a woman. But low key, he's talking to all these young girls, and because he has a lot of money, he can get them. And he flirts with them, he talks to them, he goes out with them, but to the outside world, he looks like a really religious man. So I mean, I've noticed this. I've seen this before. So it's kind of like an image thing. You just have to look to, like, for society, you have to have an image. And also the weirdest thing is that girl that was dating him, she's not my friend anymore, but I mean, back in the day when I was friends with her, she told me this. But he has a son that's the same age as her, or maybe like older than her by a year. So, religious man.
yeah, but I'm not sure I would consider that guy really religious. When I'm thinking like real Salafi guys that like have at least one wife and so on. They're trying
At least one wife?
They are trying to be sincere within the religion, more like that.
I mean, generally, when I see someone who is trying to be sincere, I don't feel any kind of negatives. I feel at least they're genuine. I only have bad feelings for people who I feel are hypocrites. If they're trying to follow Islam, I mean, I don't agree with Islam, but at least if someone is really, really dedicated to it, they don't bother me as much. I don't know why. It's not, I'm not talking about like extreme, but I'm saying sometimes I meet people who, like an old person, like an old lady or an old man, and they're just peaceful and they're chilling and they pray and they're just to themselves. And when you talk to them, they're very nice. So it's weird. For me, it's weird for me because it's like kind of strange how like I kind of like the super uber religious people, but not the crazy ones who will shoo you
I prefer
away
them in the sense that they are
like you're, like,
at least they are sincere. But that's in general, it's very annoying with
yes. I mean, I feel
people.
this way about anyone that's sincere about whatever they're doing. It's not even about religion. It's kind of like, oh, at least they're true to themselves. And they're not bothering me. They're not bothering anyone. You know, they're just to themselves.
On the
and
other
when you
hand,
meet them, at least they're very nice, you know?
On the other hand, sincere people are, in the case of Islam, can be quite dangerous in other ways. So,
okay, let's talk about.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about the old people. I don't know why it's weird. I'm talking about like 60-year-olds or 70-year-olds or something. I don't know why. I see them as like, oh, they live their life. They're just chilling right now. You know, cool. Good for you.
Yeah, well, they're at the end of their lives, aren't they, or close to it? But they can influence a lot of other people. So I think we've got to, not give them too much slack necessarily just because they're older people. If they've got bad ideas, then, we still need to call it out and not just say, oh, well, because you're old and older, we'll give you a pass. I think it's the ideas that we've got to interrogate rather than the person per se. But let's move on to what happens to a woman and why is it not the same for men when a woman disobeys her husband? What happens if a husband disobeys his wife? Is there any comeback on a husband?
I mean, I saw this hadith, or I don't know if it was a hadith or just a speech or something. It's strange. It was my cousin's wife. Like, they just got married recently. And she posted this thing, and it was talking about how a man has to please his wife and how he can't leave her crying. It's all about her. And I mean, I know it's probably fake. There's no way that that's a real hadith or something. But it was so weird. She was trying to justify his actions because he doesn't respect her that much. It's weird. And I don't know if it's a real hadith or if it's just somebody like a sheikh talking about how a woman should be treated. So
I think it's just stupid apologetics.
But Abby, can you or Stops just go over the 3 steps of what happens for everybody who doesn't know What are the 3 steps if a woman disobeys her husband? What is prescribed?
Now you mean like in the Quran when you
Mhm.
first you should ignore her and lastly you should beat her.
434.
434. Yep. So first you should admonish her, then you should sleep in beds apart, and then if nothing else, then you should beat her. One of the translations says lightly, others just say beat. So we'll take it as beat.
I think it's فَضْرِبُوهُنَّ in Arabic, if I remember correctly. فَضْرِبُوهُنَّ means so. That it doesn't exist in English. Hunna doesn't. You can't translate that, but it means them, female, them. You see what I'm saying? Them in female form. So beat them in female form.
Yeah, isn't it strike them, beat them? Yeah, exactly.
ضرب يضرب.
Yes, now again.
But now
I just found
but the
something
modern
on
the
that
modern
website.
way is different. The modern one says no, you should divorce them.
No, فضرب.
Darab?
فضرب
Like to
because the word ضرب exists in several places in Quran. It's also like فضرب بعصاك الحجر in Surah Al-Baqarah. So hit with your stick the rock. Moses should hit with his stick the rock. فضرب بعصاك الحجر. فانفجر. You understand?
No.
yes.
Like Moses, he should hit the rock with his stick, his magic stick, or so that the Oyun, the rivers will spring out of it.
Okay, what's that got to do with anything though? Is this
Because it's the same word. It's the same word. Hit with your
means
stick.
hit.
Okay.
To
So
strike.
I'm
it's
with
the
you.
exact same word.
If a man gets that mad at his wife that he hits her, he's not going to hit her lightly. He might punch her in the face. He might pull her hair. There's a lot of things. So, I mean, for God, the perfect God, to tell men to hit women, knowing that men are flawed and have rage, is kind of I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of dumb, honestly. I know that sounds bad to say, but it just sounds dumb because you don't know. I mean, he obviously knows, but I'm saying men have a temperament. Like, I'm not saying everyone has a different temperament, but I'm saying maybe one guy is nice and he's gonna be like, I'm just gonna pat you lightly on your forehead or something, or the side of your face, but the other guy is gonna full on punch. And also, men have different strengths. Some guys are very strong, some guys aren't. It's really flawed, honestly. I don't know why people don't see this.
But of course, it's a one-way thing, isn't it? So women obviously must obey their husbands, but husbands don't have to obey their wife. Now, when I've approached a couple of people in Speaker's Corner about this on occasions, they go, no, wives are actually in charge. Go, look, and they try to give, a westernized version where, the woman is in charge and she's looking after the money and she's in the household and she's kind of telling men what to do. So it's almost like they are literally doing the apologetics of an emasculated man, which there may be, and there probably is, some Western men who do that, and having done, having some expertise in relationship training, that is in fact the case in some of the Western world, well, certainly in the UK, and I would suspect in Europe as well to some degree. But he made it sound as if in fact, no, women are in charge. But I still asked the question, which I never got a response to. Well, what happens if a man, quote, disobeys his wife, even in your emasculated version of events? No response. So
nothing happens. He doesn't have any sins written against him.
there you go.
God doesn't care what he does.
She's not allowed to beat him lightly with a feather or anything, is it?
If a woman was to hit a man, they would be like, "Are you a man?" That's the response. I mean, even my mother, when I decide to do anything that I like, she'll be like, "Do you think you're a boy? Do you think you're a boy?" And I mean, I have to reply and be like, "Yeah, inside my soul, I'm a boy."
What example? Give an example of what?
For example, going out until, let's say, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. She'll be like, "Do you think you're a boy? Come back home. You look like,
You are
a
you
bad
are in the
girl.
US, aren't you? You're based in the US or North America, let's just say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm from the US, but I'm actually back in my homeland. And I don't want to like
No, sure.
say
But
which one.
your homeland is not the US, obviously.
Yes,
And
it's not.
if I had to guess, it was somewhere more far away from the US. So
Yes, I
yes.
mean it's actually really it's really liberal in comparison to most Arab countries.
Hmm. Are you
You
allowed
know,
out? Are you allowed when she's talking about, you going out, is that in the US or is that where you are now?
in the US, and it doesn't matter. I could be making us look bad. Oh, like for example, go out with my guy friends. She sees me, she'll be like, what are people gonna think? Don't come near the neighborhood. Go really far away.
This is in the
Because
US.
do you think you're a boy? You know, it's always like, do you think you're a boy? This is in US, this is in my
You,
homeland too. A place that I
uh,
could go.
yeah,
It's
but
like
I mean,
50% and everything.
I could understand the mentality in your homeland, but it's more difficult in the US where everybody's doing that sort of thing. That's the norm.
When I was a kid, actually, I wasn't allowed to go play outside. I wasn't allowed to even go to the library because by myself because they didn't want me to talk to any boys. My whole life was controlled based on the fact that I'm a girl and I'm not allowed to talk to any boys. I remember I was like 16 and I wanted to have a job, and they kept promising me that they were going to allow me to get a job, but they didn't. The male like other co-employees or like I don't know other people there or even customers. They didn't want anybody to flirt with me or talk to me. They didn't want me to be anywhere near boys. So it's kind of you know they don't care what country they're in, excuse me. They're just going to control me no matter what, if I'm in my homeland or there. But now of course I'm a little bit older, so I just do whatever I want. Not whatever I want, I still listen generally to my mom, but I fight back a little bit more. I'm like, no, these are my friends, I'm going to go out with them. I'm going to go out to the cafe, I'm going to hang out with them. Before it was so difficult. I couldn't be in a group. Like for example, when I came back to my homeland, everybody was, girls and boys, they hang out with each other. It's totally cool, and it's weird. She grew up in the homeland, right? And she knows this. She knows that, girls and boys can hang out. But because we lived in America and we were surrounded by more religious people, because in my homeland, they're not that religious. But in America, when we went to the Islamic community was so religious that she was influenced heavily by them. Because in our country, in our original country, it's not even like that. Little girls don't wear hijab. You can see a woman. She has her daughter. Her daughter's dressed up. Like Western, and her mom's wearing. Nobody cares. Basically, in my home country, you can be a girl. You can have whatever you want. Like you can do whatever you want. Not whatever you want, but you could still be a normal girl. But once you get married, you should wear hijab. Like that's the only thing. And once you turn a certain age, then you get married. Depending on your husband, if he wants you to wear hijab, you wear it. If he doesn't, then you don't have to wear it. But in America, it was so strange. I remember I used to study in my home country. And this sounds so weird for me to keep saying that, but I used to study like in first grade, second grade, and then I finally went to America and I lived there. And I was shocked because in my home country, I was allowed to do all these things, and I was allowed to be a kid, and I was allowed to go outside, and I was allowed to play, and I was allowed to have male friends. But then when I went to America, because of the Islamic community that we were surrounded by, they were so religious and so extreme that suddenly I wasn't allowed to go play outside. I wasn't allowed to talk to any boys. I wasn't allowed to play with the boys. I wasn't allowed. The girls didn't even want to hang out with me because originally I was playing with the boys, and then when my parents stopped me, it was complicated. If I questioned anything, it was an issue. If I stood up for myself and said, why is it that I can't do this anymore, they would say, oh, you're like blasphemous, you shouldn't ask these questions, you're a girl, you're not allowed to do this and that. And of
Yes.
course I saw my brothers being able to do whatever they want, and honestly I must say my brothers are actually very cool. They've never told me what to do or anything like that, but I always noticed the difference For example, one time we went to the mall, and I think I was like 14 or 13, and my brother, he brought his new girlfriend, and my mom met her, and she was so happy, and she was nice, and like a normal
How
Western
old was your
mother,
brother?
right?
How old was your brother then, though?
I think he was maybe he was 20. Yeah, because
Okay.
yeah. So he brought his girlfriend to the mall, and we were all hanging out. And I just jokingly said to my mom, "Oh, so when I'm 20, can I bring my boyfriend to the mall and we can all hang out?" And she said, "Ew, do you think you're a boy? Do you think like it's everything? Every response that I've ever gotten was, "Do you think you're a boy?"
Well, what did she expect from you, though? What would have been the you know your mother, so what would you expect of you at age
Marriage.
20?
By the time I'm 18, by the time I should turn 18, I should already be married. Because actually she did this. I remember the first time they brought up marriage, I was like 15. It was, and this is kind of weird to say, but I got my period around that time, like 14, 15. So as soon as they knew that I had my period, they started telling me, hey, like my stepdad, he told me, there's this man. I remember he picked me up from school, and then we parked somewhere, and he said, there's this man, he's 35. We want you to get married to him because we want to have a good relationship with his family. And I literally laughed in his face. And for me to laugh in his face was such a brave thing, because he used to hit me when I was a kid. So I was, I couldn't even help myself. I just laughed in his face, and I said, ha 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 ha, hell no. And that's like out of character.
How old were you at that stage?
I was like 15.
And this was in
when
the
he said that
US
to me.
or back in your home country?
Yes, in the US.
Right.
He's my stepdad is not even from my homeland. He's from a different country.
But he's Muslim.
Yeah, he's Muslim.
Yeah.
So then my mom, when I was like 17, she kept she was back in the homeland, and I was still in America with my stepdad the whole time. Like, she left me for like 3 years and a half with him. And she called me, and she was trying to fill my head with this idea of, when you come back to the homeland, you're gonna get married to this dude. And basically their whole intention was to basically use me to take him to America. That was the whole purpose. But they also wanted me to be married to him and have children and everything. And it was all I would say it was all my aunt's idea. She was the one that really pushed it. She would go up to my mom. This is what my brother told me. He told me that my aunt would call him, and she would tell him, do you want your sister to be a whore? Like, because he wasn't supporting this initially. Like, my oldest brother, he didn't support this, but my aunt would call him and be like, do you want your sister to be a whore? And then she made him feel some type of way. But the only one who defended me the whole entire time, and he didn't care what they said, was my middle brother, like the one that comes after the first one. He was the only one that supported me 100%. And he complained to my mom, and he said, this is wrong. Why are you doing this? And then she cut him off for a whole entire year. She didn't talk to him. But it was really like it was definitely forced. I didn't want to be with this person. He even came to I actually traveled to the homeland, and I even sent him a message before. When I was in America with my brothers, I was with both of my brothers and my best friend, and we all like composed this email, and we sent it to him, and we were like, I said, oh, I'm so sorry, like, I know that my mom promised you that we were going to get married, but I'm too young, and I don't want to get married now. I still have my education to follow, and then pursue, and that I don't care about your opinion. Do you agree to meet? And that's when I got really mean. That's when I told him, no, I don't like you. Ew, why are you talking to me? But no matter what I did, no matter how much I protested, my mom, she still wanted to do this. And I had so much stress, like my hair fell out, like some of it. It was such a stressful time, because no matter what I did, my mom was always on the man's side, and she wasn't on my side. It was as if I was a stranger and he was her son. And she was trying to help him get to America, and help him have a wife, and help him have children. Because he was older than me. I think he was like 35 at the time, or like 34 or something like that. I mean, if you notice,
You're just
always
dropping out a bit there. It sounds like you're speaking slowly. That's what it sounds like.
Oh, can you hear me? Hello.
Hello there. Go ahead. Try again.
Okay. I was saying that the common theme is that the man always has to be much older than me.
Yeah.
Of course, now in my 20s, I don't care if a person is 30 because I'm in my 20s and I feel more like an adult. But at the time when I was 17, 18, or even 15, I felt like, oh my God, so old. And I felt this weird fear. It's not weird, honestly. It was a genuine fear of I'm gonna be with this person. He's gonna hit me. He's gonna, make me do what he wants, and it was very stressful. I even thought about like killing myself at some point. And in fact, I actually thought about something else. I felt like if he came near me, I would stab him or something. That's what I was feeling at the time because it was so forced. No matter what I said, she wouldn't listen. My aunt wouldn't listen. They even took me to their friend's house in a different city. They took me to it's like their old girlfriends, right? And see, those women have daughters that are not married at that time. They weren't married and they were older than me. And because they were supporting their friends, they would come and tell me, no, listen to your mom, it's for the best. And they would try to say things like, the guy is so handsome. And I would say, well, why don't you marry him if he's so handsome? I give him to you. Go ahead. Or maybe your daughter would like to marry him. Like your daughter who's much older than me should marry him since she's not married. Like I remember their daughters were nearly maybe like 26, 27, which is old in the Muslim world. So
And
and
they
also,
weren't married.
huh?
They were not married.
They weren't married, but me at 17, 18, I'm supposed to get married. Why? Because they were supporting their friends. And it was really evil, honestly, because I really didn't like them. It was so strange. I actually threw a temper tantrum like in front of these people that I never met before, just because they were trying to pressure me and manipulate me so hard that I literally got so mad and like hit my head with my like fist, and I was like, no, I don't want to get married. Like it was like kind of a childish moment, but I was so stressed at the time. Like I was like, no, 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 no. Like I was like a child. Like I reverted back to being a kid or something. But maybe it's because I was a kid. That's why I had that.
Well, you
that
were
moment.
still a child, and you didn't have the, number one, we know that the critical thinking and the cognitive abilities don't develop until sort of early to mid 20s anyway, until you're fully able to use your abilities to their fullest. But I just want to pause you there for a moment,
Yes.
Sarah, because there's been a few comments there, and I'm just going to put them into a general pot. Basically, the comments are, well, hey, let's talk about something positive. Hey, let's not, keep on about this. Why are ex-Muslims, still going on about this? And I'm just going to give my view, and then obviously you can give yours.
Okay.
And the reason. So thank you for your story, number one.
Oh,
and
thank you.
to the people in the chat and those who are watching. The reason why we continue to critique Islam is because of stories like this. Because Sarah is a perfect example. Now, some of you who are watching may not enjoy Sarah's story. You might think it's personal, whatever the case is, but she's not alone. I would estimate, just off the top of my head, there's millions of girls like this that may not be, that will be in a similar situation. Maybe they will just accept it. Maybe they will fight against it. Some of them are dying. This is why we critique these sort of things. It's not because we hate Islam because we've got nothing better to do, because it impacts real people's lives. And here we're listening to somebody tell us exactly what happened for her. Now, you can dismiss her as, oh, she's just one person out of it, or maybe she just needs to learn more or whatever. There's millions of girls doing this. So, no, we're not going to stop talking about this. And ex-Muslims who want to speak about it, we're going to give them a platform to tell their story so that people can hear this, because everybody out there thinks that this isn't true. They don't have people. Here's people who are telling us the story that happened to them. So if you don't like it, please don't listen to it. But the rest of us want to hear this. We want to hear the stories of real people, because this ideology impacts people's lives, and here we're hearing it. And women are treated like crap across the world in Islam, and those that want to apologize and pretend it isn't happening are talking nonsense, and they're lying, and they're being deceiving. And here we have examples. And as I've said, Sarah's not the only person. There's probably millions of women like this. So no, we're not going to stop talking about this, and we're going to continue to criticize these things that we find to be abhorrent today, And if Islam wants to reform, then they need to let go of this idea that everything in the Quran and the Hadiths that may have been okay, in inverted commas, in the 7th century is okay today, because it's not. And every time they try and say it is, we're not going to allow that. And we're going to press it, and we're going to have stories like this to reveal just how bad it is, and these ideas. My hope, my belief is that people like Sarah and Lily and others will have families, because actually I saw an article recently where by birth rate, atheism or non-belief is going down, and religious belief by birth rate is going up. But if you look at the switching, the unaffiliated, in other words, those who do not believe, is growing massively and is projected to outstrip Islam by a factor of about 20 times, a factor of 20. So if we talk more about that, there's more education, there's the internet, and we critique these things, my hope is that people like Sarah, who when they choose to actually go and get married to somebody they really love, not just being pushed off to somebody for reasons that are, nothing to do with Sarah, will actually educate their children. And by people like these, we will actually be able to, grow again in that sense. So the more education, the more stories that are like this, my hope is the more that, in fact, non-belief will grow, and it will push back against, theocracy, which is just increasing most of the time by birth rate, not because people are going, you know what, this is incredibly good, and I've thought deeply about this, my critical thinking tells me that this, that Islam or Christianity is true. No, they're doing it because they're being brought into it, they're being brainwashed. And fortunately, people like Sarah and Lily and many others are going, no, I'm not going to accept this, and I'm going to think critically, I'm going to have my own life, and I'm not going to be told what to do, especially when I get into my 20s. As a kid, but even then it's stressful. And I'm sure, as Sarah kind of pointed out there, that even when she was younger, she was like, no, I'm not happy with this. Even at that stage, she was able to do it. Now in her 20s, no doubt the parents still want all of these sort of things to happen. But hopefully Sarah and Lily and many others out there, you will be the sort of people that we want, and will push back, and your families will grow up having the thoughts that you have. And so the theocracy of your parents and so forth, and the younger generation is our hope. And so that's who we want to attract, that's who we want to speak to, that's where we want the critical thinking and those people, because they are the future, not these old people who still have these deep-rooted ideas. They're very likely to not going to change, but it's the young people who are thinking about things, who are looking, who are investigating, who have the internet, who speak to people like us and we speak to them, and who look at it from a different view eventually, who are, I would hope, going to be the savior for humanity in a sense. So there's my short rant.
Well said, absolutely. And this is what people need to understand.
I mean.
Go ahead, Stops. You were going to say something?
No, I just said this is what people need to understand. Thank you very much for that. People need to understand this. And my question is always to Muslims, if you believe that this is the right kind of behavior in the 21st century by a non-oppressive God, then go ahead. But if you think that slavery does not belong here, ask yourself, does the Quran belong here? If slavery is being propagated in the Quran, if women are being oppressed in the Quran and in Islam, do you think that Islam still belongs into the 21st century if this is the case? That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I see.
In a way, I feel that they like it. A lot of men have benefits in Islam when they believe in Islam. That's why a lot of men don't leave Islam, and it's like, yeah, wow, he gave up all his rights to defend, women. I mean, in a way, like a lot of them are defending women because they saw, a lot of them will say, oh, I don't like the way that women are treated in Islam. So it's kind of cool.
Yes, I don't mind. I mean, ideally, I would like people to deconvert because they've got good reasons and evidence to do so. But even if they do it from an emotional point of view and then justify it afterwards, that's still, as long as they can come eventually with good reasons. I mean, ideally, as I said, but even a deconversion from that point of view, they just go, hey, it's an emotional thing. I'm still fine with that in the sense that it's still better for you to deconvert even emotionally, but ideally you do it for good reasons and evidence. Now, obviously, you've quite deconverted. By the way, how did your parents feel about that? Do they know or do they not know?
No. The strangest thing is that my stepfather, it's almost like he's battling with himself, and I've always noticed that since I was a kid. Sometimes he prays and sometimes he doesn't, and it's like, for example, there was a time where I was talking to him and he said he doesn't believe that Christians or Jews will go to hell. It's not fair. How come go to see kind of a doubt in him, you know? So it's I don't know. It's weird thinking about it that, you know, even in my family, a lot of people are not that convinced. It's just that it's like a tradition or a custom, so they can't leave. They don't even think about leaving, but they see some fault in it. It kind of reminds me actually of this guy that's on here, the Muslim guy. What's his name? Marshall.
Saracen. Marshall.
Oh yeah, Marshall. I talked to him before, and he said that you know, he can't leave the religion, but he does have some doubts, and he has some things that he doesn't like about the religion. So it's kind of like they can't even, they're emotionally attached to it. That's why they can't leave.
Yeah, but
I hope I'm making sense.
Or they're
Yeah,
scared.
but again, and you know, we're not going to talk about specific people here unless they were on the show or, you know, whatever the case is. But generally speaking, the more they interact with, let's call it rationality and critical thinking, the less they have to. And it may be a process for you, and for Lily it may be different, where it happened quite quickly or it happened over a period of time. But for other people, being exposed to this, having, you know, interactions with us and ex-Muslims, etc., and looking at the book critically, I think, and the ideology critically, which Muslims don't do until they get to a point where you guys were at, will eventually start. It's like, you know, chipping away at a brick wall, chipping away,
Mm-hmm.
and slowly, eventually, especially if you go down at the foundational level. But even if you chip away somewhere else, you can suddenly see through the wall and you go, whoa, there's something different on the other side. But if you chip away at the bottom, eventually the wall will crumble. And I think, you know, people like that who keep being exposed and who think critically, eventually they will. So they may call themselves Muslim for whatever reason, because it may be negative in their life, around their family, friends, or their neighborhood or their environment. But actually they're just closet atheists. And I would suggest that there's a lot of people who are closet non-believers or who are closet ex-Muslims who just don't say so because of, as you've pointed out, you know, what would the family say, or would my life be in danger, or what would the effect be on my life? And I'm not prepared to do that yet. But you can carry on, you know. So obviously it's challenging, and in my view, I wish you could do it. But I do understand that if I were in that sort of position, you couldn't go to bed at night and pretend that you are, but you would have to say it for whatever reason, for your well-being or your family or whatever the case may be. But eventually, you know, when you grow up, when you're at your parents' age, hopefully that won't be the case. So that's my hope, that in years to come, you know.
Like right now, I could never tell anyone in my family that I don't believe. Even though I've kind of given them hints, like I'll say certain things like, oh, you know, did you know this is in the Quran? Like I'll say it to my mom and she'll be like, no, that's not true. You know, but she doesn't get mad at me.
No, but I also
think she doesn't think that, you know, I'm not a believer. She just thinks
when you say that though, Sarah, what is your thoughts behind saying that to your mom?
It's almost like I want her to wake up. I feel I want her to realize that Islam isn't good for her. She does a lot of things and I feel like they're silly. What are you doing? For example, she'll put like ruqya, and like it'll be loud. I'll be sleeping and I'll hear it. It'll wake me up.
Sorry, what is that?
Say, you know, that's kind of it's like Quran. She, like, for example, she'll turn on the TV and it'll be like a Quran channel, and she'll have it. For example, like it'll be like a compilation of different Quranic verses that are supposed to like cast away demons, or cast away the evil eye, or cast away, or like make you sleep better at
so
night,
she's
or comfort you.
playing these things loudly on the television that wakes you up.
Yeah, or even on the computer. But I mean, that's not even the big issue. But I just feel like sometimes she says things, and I'm like, Mom, you do realize that's silly. But I don't want to tell her straight to her face. Actually, you know, in my family, I'm not even the first person to not believe. My oldest brother, he's the first one to become an atheist.
Does your family know that he's atheist though?
He was out there like telling them, you know, I don't believe in Islam and everything. But he got sick. He got sick, and then he went back to Islam because he felt like, you know, they kept telling him, oh, see, you became an atheist, so you got sick, and like, because he got really sick, and so they convinced him to get back into Islam. Now he's kind of religious. It's kind of sad.
I mean, again,
But he was the first one. He was the first one to come out and say, I don't like this and I don't believe in this. And he was looking into different religions, and he really didn't believe in it. But now he's come back to it.
yeah.
I would never come back to it, though.
Well,
never.
in my view, initially, my first thought was that's despicable of your parents to do that. But then I have a second thought, which goes, if they really believe that's the case, then they're doing exactly what they said, in the sense that they are being moral in their own worldview, going, hey, if they really believe that because he became an atheist, he got ill, then of course what they're doing is morally correct by their own view. But as an external, looking in from the outside, very easy, the first judgment call is that's a despicable thing to do, is to, but if they believed it, if they weren't doing it purely because they thought, because it was just a mechanism to get him back, if they didn't believe it themselves, then that would be, even more despicable. But certainly, from their own point of view, if they love their son and they believe that that was the case, I mean, obviously there's no evidence for that sort of thing. But I think that's the other thing, Sarah, with your mom and other people. Here's the thing that I've learned: people who aren't ready for it, they will bat it off no matter what, even if they are completely irrational, even if you show them, even if Stops gave you some of the things in the Quran and they said, hey, go and show your mom this, she would find a way to either ignore it, dismiss it, whatever the case is. Like you are hitting a brick wall then with like a rubber mallet and it's just bouncing off, until
Yes.
if the wall goes, hey, do you know what, I am interested, what have you got to say? But here's the thing for you. One of the things, and Stops is reading it, and it might be a book worth reading for you. I can't think of the name. What's that book, Stops, with the questioning with Peter Boghossian?
How to make, do you mean epistemology or how to make an atheist?
Yeah, the manual for creating atheists, which is essentially, how do you ask questions? Because the moment you ask somebody a question, when you give somebody a statement, they evaluate it and they have a filter that's up, like a psychological filter that goes, is this true or false? When you ask them a question, that filter disappears. They no longer have a filter of, is this true or false? Because you're asking them a question. Now they have to go inside their brain and actually think of an answer. So one of the things you could do if you want to, but again, if your mom's not ready or isn't, is never going to give it up, then it's very unlikely you're going to get anywhere. But one of the strategies is to ask questions, because now that filter disappears, now she has to come up with an answer. So, hey, Mom, I've read this in the Quran. What do you think about this? Not, hey, Mom, this is wrong in the Quran, because now you're giving a statement. But the moment you say, hey, Mom, I read this. What do you think about this? And she would say X, Y, and Z. And you go, but hang on a second, Mom, what about this? And you keep asking questions.
That's exactly how I talk to her.
Oh, great.
Okay. I don't tell her, oh, this is wrong. I'll say, hey, Mom, did you know this is in the Quran? She'll be like, oh, I haven't heard about that. And then I'll say, oh, well, this is in it. And like, I'll try to show it to her. And I mean, my mom is actually, she's kind of open to reading different things. I mean, she's an educated woman. She's not, she's not illiterate or anything like that. Like, I could talk to her about anything. Like, she speaks 3 languages. So she's not, dumb or anything like that. But at the same time, I feel like because she's so old, she doesn't want anybody to burst her bubble.
Yes. Yeah,
even if she feels like it's wrong or she doesn't truly believe it, but she's not gonna want me to, she doesn't want to question it too much. It is like talking to a brick wall, because she'll be like, no, it's whatever, blah blah blah, and then she'll like walk away.
Yes, and
but she doesn't get mad at me though if I question anything. Sometimes she'll be like, are you a Muslim? Like, just sometimes she'll say that, because I'll be like, yeah, Mom, no, don't. What are you talking about?
But when your brother came
like,
out, what do you foresee? I mean, just if you had to guess, what would you foresee the consequences if you said no, I wasn't? Would they take you seriously? And B, if they did, what do you think could happen, given that your brother already did that?
Oh, it would be like, they would emotionally manipulate. They would start playing Quran a lot. They would try to take me to a sheikh.
But you wouldn't be in fear of your life from a physical point of view, potentially.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe from my stepfather, but my stepdad isn't with me now. Okay. He's the only one that I felt threatened by. My mom never actually hit me or anything, but my stepdad, he's the one that did that. And I would never say that to my stepdad, like, oh, no, because I think that he would try to hurt me. I mean, even when I was a kid, there was a story of these girls that were honor killed, or like they had an honor killing.
Plenty of them, yeah.
Yeah, their name was, I think it was like Sarah and Amina. And that story got stuck inside of me, because I saw myself in the same age, or maybe I was a little bit younger. They were teenagers at the time when they died. But I remember thinking in my head, I can never do anything wrong. I have to like obey and do whatever, because then he's gonna kill me. Because I mean, one time he actually said that, you know, I remember I went to, it wasn't even, I didn't even do anything bad. What happened was my stepfather wouldn't let me go anywhere by myself. So if I was to go somewhere, I would have to ask one of my brothers. That's the only way I can go outside. So I asked both of my brothers and they didn't let me. Like, it's not that they didn't let me. Actually, it's more that they were busy. They just didn't want to drive me there. So my best friend was at my house, and she was going to the same place, and it was the masjid. It was a Eid event at the masjid. It was a carnival, and I really wanted to go because I didn't see my friends in a long time, and so I decided to go. When he discovered that I went, when I was in the car, like he backhanded, like he hit me with the back of his hand, and then he said, "I will kill you and go back to my country."
Sorry, he will
Realizing
kill you if
he's
you go back to his country.
No, he said he would kill me and go back to his country and feel nothing, like run away to his country and not care. I don't know if he was
And this was
serious,
done in
but
the US.
yes, in the US. And all I did was go to the masjid. I didn't even go to the club or or go somewhere. Like, I didn't do anything bad. All I did was go to an event that with other Muslims, but he didn't like that. He didn't want
How
me to
many
go
millions of
because there's boys and
fathers
stuff.
do this
Yeah.
across the world? It's I would be very surprised if it wasn't in
I
the tens, if not hundreds of millions.
Oh, yes, fathers, I mean, I know that there's a lot of fathers that love their daughters, and there's nothing that they can do that would let them, that would make them hit their, it's about honor, it's about, am I going to embarrass them? Is their daughter going to embarrass them? They don't care what the boys do. They're allowed to go out, stay out until whatever time they want and come back and live their life and have a girlfriend. But that wasn't even important to me when I was a kid. When I was younger, even as a teenager, I never thought, oh my God, I want to have a boyfriend or something. I wasn't even like that. I wasn't even, I was into, cartoons, and I was very childlike, but I think that was a defense mechanism because I felt like I wanted, they called me so many names when I was a kid, like, Sharmota and stuff like that. So I felt like I had to put this defense up and show them, no, I'm innocent. So at the time, I suppressed any idea of talking to a boy or even liking a boy. So it was weird that they were so strict with me, even though I did everything in my power, obeyed them. I did everything that they ever wanted me to do. Like, for example, they would, he would call me beforehand and say, let's go to the grocery store, and I want you to be downstairs in 1 minute. I wouldn't even change out of my pajamas or anything. I would just be like, boom, just go, because I have to listen to him. I have to listen to my mom. I have to listen to everybody. I have to do what they say if I want to feel safe. I was like always on edge my whole entire childhood and adolescence, on edge, scared. What are they going to do? Are they going to hit me? Are they going to do this? I mean, of course, my brothers never hit me, but I'm saying, like, my stepdad, he was the big force. Even actually, I haven't talked to him in a long time. I haven't seen him in a long time, and he actually called me, and he even apologized. He recognized that he did something horrible, and he said, even though I abused you as a kid, I still love you. But it
Be
doesn't
careful,
take
Lily.
back the fact.
Sarah, sorry,
Huh?
be careful. Don't get. My humble suggestion is not to fall for that sort of thing. It's very
Oh
unusual.
no, I would never.
Oh, okay.
I would never.
Okay.
I know, like, he's trying to be nice. Maybe he saw, like, maybe now he recognizes that I was such a good girl. Like, I did everything that they wanted me to do. I lived my life, just going to school, coming back home. I never went outside. I never had anybody come over. Only maybe 2 friends that I was allowed to hang out with, and they wore hijab, and that's the only reason that they let me hang out with them. But that's basically it. Now I think when he looks back, he realizes, I could have been, I could have done way more, or I could have rebelled, or I could have even called the police, because I literally had a bruise on me every single day. Like, at any time I could have called the police from the age of 8 until the age of 18, and I would have had evidence, like physical evidence that I was being abused, or
And then on that note, back to what you said before about how you were trying to have this image of being so innocent and prove to them, like, look, I'm a good girl, like, I'm listening to you. 100%, I agree. I told you before that I did the same exact thing. I went overboard because I wanted to prove to my parents that, like, look, I'm so Islamic, like, I'm so good, I'm so pure. Even though I felt like it wasn't even an act, because I really did feel like I wanted to throw myself into the religion and dive in, and, like, not just that I was trying to prove that I was, pure or not, thinking about boys or whatever, but I think I was like 15 once, and my dad looked at me and he was like, "Oh, I know you're thinking about boys because that's you're at that age now." And I was speechless. I didn't even have a thing to say, because I was like, "So you like I said earlier, you're gonna impose on me what is in my mind and what my intentions are just because of my age." So it's like, it doesn't even matter what you do and how much you prove to them that you're innocent and that you're childlike. They're still gonna have these ideas of you and impose this, like, over sexualization of you from a young age, because it's just
Yeah.
ingrained. That's all I wanted to
And
say.
remember the thing that you told me about your cousins when you were
Oh my gosh, yeah.
child
When I was little, I didn't even know that cousin marriage was
in
a
in like,
thing that was allowed in Islam. So, when I went over to my aunt's house, and I was very young, and I had, like, little cousins, and they were boys or whatever, and I was in the room and I had taken off my hijab, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, put that back on, like, your cousins." And I'm like, "What about them?" And they're like, "They can't see you, they can't see your hair, like, cousins are allowed to get married in Islam." And I said, "No, I didn't know that, ew." But they're just my little
And of
cousins,
course,
like we're
yes, they are
kids.
first
Ew.
cousins, etc., as Stops and Abu will say. And of course, that's incest, and we know that because what happens, there's biological issues with, and that happens a lot in Pakistan and other countries where they're encouraged to do that sort of thing. But then they got the
Yeah.
cheek to come and say to non-believers, "Oh, you guys believe in, or you accept incest," of course, completely forgetting that the Quran basically encourages it with
Yeah,
first
they used to
cousins.
try to make me flirt with my cousin. They'd be like, "Oh,
Mhm.
they would say, like, the name of, like, this cousin that was, like, the same age as me, and they would kind of come over and hint to be like, "Hey, I have the perfect person for you to marry when you grow up. Are you thinking about marrying him?" No, ew.
same thing would be I had they it was so funny. Before I came to my homeland, it was before they were trying to get me married to the other guy. They were telling me to marry my cousin, my older cousin. Why? So that, I could give him a better life. I can take him to America, and he could be my best friend. And in fact, the weirdest thing is that I remember somebody told me that my cousin told them a long time ago when I was a little kid, 5 or 6 or something. He said, "See, Sarah, she's my, she's my and she's gonna be my woman when she's older, and we're gonna live a great life in America and blah blah blah." Like, and my mom encouraged this. And in fact, I have another cousin that I grew up with, and his mom, when we're maybe like 17, she told me, and I told her, "No, that's like my brother. That's my brother, because I literally grew up with him. It's weird. It's weird. I'm not gonna see him like that, and he's older than me too."
Can I give you a quick
Strange.
fun fact? A lot of Muslims, female Muslims especially, believe that the Quran actually mentions hair and that they are supposed to cover the hair. This is a lot of times what I hear, that Muslim women actually believe this. It's not true. It does not exist.
Yes,
Yeah, I
it
actually didn't know that until Sarah
it
is the one who
doesn't
told me that.
exist.
We're
I
losing
said
you
on
there,
Facebook,
Sarah.
I posted a question. I said, "Can you guys please give me a surah that states that you have to wear hijab specifically on your head, not just to cover your boobs and your butt or whatever, just like the general areas that you're supposed to cover." And then they couldn't. It was like maybe 200 comments or 250 comments, and it was like non-Muslims with Muslims. And the
I
reason why I mentioned
remember
this,
that.
yeah, and the
That was
reason I
awesome.
mentioned this is because at the time I had stopped going to the Islamic school, and this girl that was in my class at the time, like along the year before, she went to the sheikh, like the guy that was teaching them Arabic tell on me, like as if I care. But it was so funny. It was like I can't believe. And by the way, that girl, that exact girl, has taken off her hijab now. So it's kind of
Yes.
funny that she
I just
It's
wanna
the
tried
same with the
to.
hijab. The hijab is not mentioned in the Quran anywhere as a piece of clothing, not once, and people
It's a
don't
wall.
realize that.
It's basically like, you know, the wall that they would have in Japan or Korea, like those little walls, the sliding walls, like the. It's like
Exactly,
that's
that's
what
the
it
thing.
is.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, I told people in the comment section, I said, you know, it's a cultural thing because since Islam was created in Saudi Arabia, because it's so hot, men and women used to cover their heads. It has nothing to do with religion. And also they said, oh, well, how come the Christians and the Jews do it? Well, they also lived in really humid
You sound very funny, Sarah.
There's a
climate.
jinn
Like,
sitting
I
on
think the
your
Jews, they.
Sarah,
cable.
your thing is like really cutting off a lot.
Can you guys
like
hear me now?
your
No,
connection.
no, no, it's not that we can't hear you. It's just so spread out.
Sounds like you're
Oh,
going
sorry.
slow motion.
Sorry about that.
No, no,
Can
it's
you
not
guys hear
you.
me
It's
now?
the internet connection. It's
Yes,
wonderful.
just hang on one sec. I want to bring in a few of the comments here. Here's a comment.
Exactly. I was just going to do that.
Oh, okay. I'll do one, and if it's the same one, or do some more. So here's a comment from, I'm guessing this is a woman, Zahira Washiri. Your stepdad was a jackass to you. Okay, but this has nothing to do with Islam. Fail whale. So this is the sort of
He's a
mentality
Muslim
that we
man.
have.
He's a Muslim man. Get over
Oh, so the
it.
man?
Yeah, this is Zara was here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Zahra was here.
What's her name? Zahra was
here's
here.
the-
Zahra.
yeah.
I don't know if this is a she.
I don't know.
I
But
think it's Zahra is a female name. It is.
this
like,
is
Yeah,
this
but
is the
somebody can name
mass.
themselves anything.
But this is the mass hallucination that's going on. All these bad things that he hit you for because, you know, that's the cultural thing that came. It didn't come out of a vacuum. Nobody just decided one day, do you know what, we're going to keep, you know, our young daughters from ever going out because something might happen. It didn't just happen. Somebody didn't just wake up doing this. But of course, the narrative that some Muslims will play has nothing to do with Islam. He was just a jackass. No real Muslim would do that, except hundreds of millions. But yeah, let's not count them either.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
I mean-
did you see the comment? The one that I like the most is, what is incest? It's relatively boring.
What? You know what I love when they blame stuff on culture, and it's like, what is actually culture, right? For the most part, when people are proud of their culture, they talk about their language, their art, their music, their cuisine, the things of their country or heritage that they're proud of. No one is going to be like, hey, you know, we have beating in our culture, you know, that's a thing. That's that's a thing we're really proud of. Like I have cultural pride. I have, oh, somebody in the comments call me a Mexican, so you know I have Mexican pride. All Mexicans, you know, this is our culture. We what is a really bad stereotype of Mexicans? You know, we jump the border. That's culture. It's like if you take a stereotype or something negative, you know, I'm not saying that a negative thing can't be cultural, but you know, for the most part, when we're talking about culture, it's like the main things that we think of is like, you know, like I said, language, you know, food, art, music, style of dress, things like that. So when they say stuff like, hey, you know, your father beat you, or you know, or like beat his wife, that's his culture. But wait a minute, what countries are these all? Oh, a bunch of different countries. Do they have culture in common? They all happen to have the same culture.
Oh my
in
God!
common.
Thank you. Thank you so
55
much.
countries all have the same culture in common. I did not know that.
Yes.
I mean,
you.
I've said
Yeah.
I said this before, and another person a long time ago said that what did he say? Intellectually dishonest? No, sir. I'm telling you that you know, the Persian people are not. They don't have the same culture as Arabs. Don't have the same culture as Bosnians, and so forth. And Somali people have their own culture, and Ethiopian people have their own culture. But what do they have in common? Why do they act? Why do they have similar actions? Or why do they have this? Why do they feel connected? They're only connected by Islam because they're completely different cultures. They're completely different people from different parts of the world. And they're not connected. For example, Malaysians, they're Asian, and then
Thank
there's
you.
like
They're
you know, and
completely separate from the whole continent.
Yes.
They're
And then,
all the
of
way
course,
over here.
yeah, and like
That's not
Unbelieved.
true, lah.
Okay, hang on a second now. I just want to bring this in because here's an example of exactly what we're talking about. I think it's one of our commenters here. So here is an example. Hopefully you can read it. I've made it big. Quandil Balok was a Pakistani model, actress, and social media celebrity. Balok rose to prominence due to her videos on social media discussing her daily routine and various controversial issues. Balok first received recognition from the media when she auditioned for Pakistani Idol, and that went viral. She was a top 10 search person on the internet in Pakistan. During the evening of 15 July 2016, Balok was asphyxiated while she was asleep in her house where her parents live in Multan. Her brother, Wasim Asim, confessed to the murder, saying she was bringing disrepute to the family's honor. So again,
I actually watched a lot of videos about this girl, and I felt really sad when I saw, the story break. Basically, when I saw that, I was like, he literally murdered his own sister for Islam. Why dishonor? She went back home because she thought she was going to be safe. He put like sleeping pills in the milk. So this is what they claim. They claim that her parents they drank that milk and they were asleep. They didn't hear anything. I don't know if they wanted him to do that, or they were. I'm just saying, like, literally this whole thing, like, how come? Okay, so if she's so bad, right? Why did all the Pakistani men like her so much?
Yeah, I mean,
it's a hypocritical thing. It's a hypocritical thing. It's like, okay, so I mean, if she was living in America, she would have been safe, maybe. But her brother, he murdered her.
Well,
how sad is that to grow up with your brother? That's your brother, your blood, right? And he goes and murders you. Why?
Yeah,
because
that's happened. That's happened in the US.
There's definitely even cases that happen in Canada, Australia, the US.
Yes, I watched so many. Honor killing documentaries because I was really interested in that, and it's really sad. And if a woman decides to do anything, they have to kill her. Like, she's dishonoring. And first of all, actually, she was forced to get married.
Didn't you know, though, Pakistanis and Somalis have the same culture, and Egyptians too? Like, why aren't you getting this?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like,
it's not Islam. Like, it's culture.
Yeah, but I think more and more people are seeing through this. So it's not Islam. It's just one or two quote bad Muslims. I mean, even people who don't really understand this see this happen again and again and again and again. And like you say, the common denominator is people believing in Islam. If that ideology disappeared off the planet tomorrow, the whole consciousness of the planet would rise. It would be like suddenly everybody's like, okay, there'd be a vacuum there. So you have to give people something to believe in necessarily, hopefully, or give them something else to do to fill in the vacuum. But if it disappeared tomorrow, what a better planet we would have, at least to some degree. So, but it's the same thing. It's the ideology, and that's what I'm focused on. Is that some Muslims are just an extreme version. They take the ideology to the extreme. Others don't, and to the degree that they don't follow it literally, they're kind of quite good Muslims. But
let me. Can I say something here?
Go for it.
First, I want just. We recently had a weird case in Scandinavia, where a father who refused to honor kill her daughter. His daughter was killed by another male relative for not honor killing his daughter or daughters.
I mean, I've seen this before, but it's not exactly the same. It's kind of like they have all this pressure from other male figures in their family. For example, there was I think it was called I don't remember which family this was, but it was a girl. I remember it was a girl. She looked so nice. Like, when she literally went to the police 5 times and reported this, and they still didn't help her. I think it was a Canadian case. She was in Canada, and basically, guess who killed her? Her father called his cousins. It was an Iraqi woman. He called his cousins or her cousins or whatever, and they went and raped her and killed her. And then they went back to Iraq. And I mean, I don't know how anyone could. And then they were denying. Like, her family was denying that they had anything to do with it.
I mean, this is what, technically speaking. So, If you take it technically, many of these honor killing cases are not strictly from Islam. If you take it from a point of view of Sharia, for example, so like yes, in Islam you can kill both men and women who commit adultery, but it's the strict honor killing part is not necessarily from Sharia. However, the culture in general, where this like seeing women as property, and then seeing like the importance of protecting her honor, or protecting she's part of the family honor and so on, creates a breeding ground for this like outshoots, or those derivatives that create honor killing in Muslim cultures. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's why if everybody had had amnesia tomorrow, that was a Muslim, had amnesia and woke up and went, look at the world differently. I don't know what I was thinking yesterday. Would we still have this going on? I would almost guarantee we wouldn't.
No, but
Yes.
but that is partly through culture. So
that's why I say if they have amnesia with everything related to Islam, because you can't argue that this isn't related, even if it doesn't say it in the book.
No. As I said, that's why I call it a derivative. It's related. However, you can't point to the Sharia and say, okay, this is exactly from the Sharia. You see what I'm saying?
Well, it depends what you mean by exactly, but I'm sure they could, and obviously people do, and countries do, find a way to bring it back in some way to that, because otherwise how would they have these laws and so forth in some countries?
Yeah.
No, but the laws, you see, like, of course, like stoning a woman if she commits adultery, of course, that is from Sharia. But some of these cases, some of these like honor killing cases, it's not strictly from the Sharia. Like if you're living in a land of kuffar, should you then honor kill your daughter if she have a boyfriend? It's not that clear, really. Although the general curve creates this derivative. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, here's an example. Here's the person that you were talking about, actually.
Just explaining maybe.
Here's the person that you were talking about, actually. Somebody just sent me the link, so thanks for that. Celine Ducaron, London honor killing suspects appear in court. No plea entered by defendants at the Old Bailey. 2 men accused in court in connection with the alleged kidnap, rape, and murder of Celine Ducaron. And this was 26th of July 2017, so this is fairly recent.
Oh, I wasn't talking about this girl. This is a new case.
No, but this was the one that I think Abu mentioned, or somebody mentioned.
No, this was in Scandinavia recently.
Okay.
But there's just so many. There's just so many honor killings. We can't keep up.
Yeah.
That's the problem. See, it's like we're talking about one person, but it sounds like we're talking about another person because the other person has similar experiences to the other person, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on. Because I mean, all of these girls had things in common. They were trapped in their house, and they weren't allowed to do certain things. And when their fathers discovered that they were trying to dress modern or dress Western, they started getting suspicious, and eventually the weirdest thing is that the brother always is involved. This was I've seen this like multiple times where the brother is watching his sisters, even if he's younger than them. It'll be the younger brother watching his older sisters, not and then reporting back to the father. And I feel
because he has authority over them.
Yes, because if you raise your children and because one is a male, he can control his sisters even though they're older than him. Then of course he's going to feel like he's righteous, like he needs to watch them. Even though in London or America or Canada or whatever, wherever they're living, the guys don't really care. Like the people are not looking at them and thinking, wow, your sister just dishonored you. She just talked to a boy. Oh my God, she took off her hijab. They don't care about that, but it's all in their mind. And actually, I have a cousin who, I mean, I literally like argued with him so much. One time I was with them at their house, and I think he was, his sister went out. She was in university, and she came back, and she was tired, and he told her to do something. Like it was her own thing. Like it had nothing to do with him, but he just kept like saying, "Oh, this is the last day you have to do it." Maybe he had good intentions, right? But she said something about, "Oh, you're just laying there. I just came back from school. It was far away." She said something like that, and he was like, "You're talking to your older brother like this?" And he came up and he was trying to hit her or whatever, and then I had to get in between them, and I said, "Hey, get away!" And then he put his hand on her. He didn't actually hit her, but he was putting his hand on her face and like pushing her. And so I punched him on his arm, and then he looked at me all surprised, like, "Did she just punch me?" And then I was thinking, "Oh my God, he's probably gonna hit me or something." But he didn't, and then he went away because maybe I made him feel ashamed of what he was doing. But he was doing that all this time, before I ever came back to the homeland and saw them. He used to always watch her and see what she's doing. She had zero freedom. Now he moved to a different country, so he's far away from her, and she has more freedom and she's more relaxed. But at the time, I was watching him, how he was controlling her. She was afraid. Like I would go outside with her, and she'd be like, "No, I don't want my brother to see me." Oh, like constantly in fear. And even her father didn't even do that to her, like watch her constantly and everything. But her brother was watching her constantly, and all of that was just because of his weird pride.
Yeah,
Of
yeah. I
he
mean,
didn't want one day one of his friends to date his sister, because it's a small town where they live, and he didn't want someday someone to tell him, "Hey, I kissed your sister," or like someone to come back and tell him that some guy he knows talked to her. Even talking to her, even just like standing and they're talking, and even if they're in the same school, she didn't want her brother to see her. I mean, she didn't want her dad to see her either, but it was like a constant state of fear, and it's all about pride. It's all about this weird honor thing. And sometimes I get surprised when I see guys going out with their sister, not going out as in dating, but I mean going out together with their sisters, having fun, and they don't care what their sister does. So it's a weird world. Anyways, I talk a lot, you guys.
yes, but that's okay to a degree. I will bring you back eventually. But let's have a quick look at numbers here, because we're talking about this. But here's remembering the victim. So this is from the Telegraph on Thursday. So this was a little while ago. There was a remembering this particular lady that's got killed. But here's the important part. Well, one of the important parts. It's estimated that 5,000 honor killings occur every year worldwide. The crime perpetuated by secretive families, often conducted abroad, means that the true number is likely to be greater. But, and 5,000, I would suggest as well, is probably a very low number, just listening to and seeing the amount. And even if they weren't killed, imagine how many other women are in some way bullied or forced or cajoled or whatever the case to do certain things against their will. So this is not a small minority of people in the general sphere of things. And so, it's good to put numbers to it, because otherwise it just, people can easily dismiss your views, Sarah, or yours, Lily. But, once we bring in bigger numbers, then of course we come back to reality with facts of this happening, not just to the two of you, but around the world. And the fact that, people either aren't aware of it or turn their backs or think that it's just, one-off, a few crazy people out there. This just isn't the case. And I think that sort of thing needs to continue to be highlighted so that people realize that this is a real thing happening to thousands, probably hundreds, if not millions of women around the world, to whatever degree. I mean, honor killing is obviously almost the worst. You could probably have torture as well to that list, but that's just on the very, very extreme end. But no doubt there's a massive amount in between that and the sort of freedom that both Lily and Sarah enjoy now, or to a degree anyway. Even Sarah's not able to be completely free in the sense of being able to tell her parents to go and do whatever she wants all the time. But let's compare that.
I haven't told my parents either.
Oh, you haven't
You
either.
can
Yeah.
compare it to 9/11, like roughly 3,000 persons were killed in 9/11. And this is yearly, and it's probably a very underestimated number.
Yes. Cool. Stops, you've been very quiet. If you want to add anything else uncharacteristically quiet there?
No, I enjoy listening at the moment.
You know, the thing I love the most is that whenever we talk about topics like this, there are always the people that come out and they go, "Why are you only focusing on the death rates of Islam? Why don't we deflect the conversation and try to talk about the death rates of a different group?" And it kind of reminds me of this. It was an interview, it was a panel between Ayan Husi Ali and 4 or 5 other women, and the moderator. Ayan brought up some statistics about Muslim women in Islam and how they don't have the same rights, and how they're basically like oppressed in different ways and killed and different things like that. And the moderator said, "Why are we only talking about Islam? Like, why don't we talk about how there's misogyny in Christianity?" Well, because the topic today is Islam, so that's what we're going to talk about. And if you would like to talk about misogyny in Christianity or any other topic or different groups where people are dying, you're free to go to that panel. But over here, this is what we're talking about. And I almost feel like they get nervous when we talk about something that's actually true. So they're trying to deflect and derail the conversation. And it's like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about the issues. Doesn't matter how uncomfortable it makes you. This is what we're here to talk about. And you can call us obsessed or whatever.
Exactly. The other thing that I noticed is this is not a dating channel. I don't know why when you have females here, suddenly the testosterone takes over and people get all funny and talk about things as though women are something from a different planet or something. I can't understand it. Why can't people appreciate people regardless of the gender, regardless of whether they have boobs or whatever? It doesn't matter. What we're doing here is we're talking at what I'd like to think is on a level where we can communicate and we can talk about things instead of bashing each other's heads in. This is the way that it is. And then people going in the chat going crazy about whether someone is built in some way or wearing glasses. It doesn't matter. It's the opinion that matters. It's whether the opinion has some substance to it. That is what matters, not whether somebody is saying this is wearing glasses. This is so funny.
Yes, yeah, of course. That's the typical thing, of course, is not dealing with the substance of what somebody's saying, but rather the person, the ad hominems, etc. I mean, but just get used to it. I think we all, the more that we, interact on the internet and speak to, quote, the public, the more you'll have this sort of thing going on. But obviously, they can't address the point, so it's rather something else. But it's just get used to it. It's unlikely that that's going to change, and
That's it. So, I mean, if I were to summarize this, yes, in Islam, women are oppressed. Yes, women are treated differently than men. And there is no question about it. It's no matter how much you want to deflect it, how much you try and ignore it and talk against it, it is not true. There is too much evidence that points in the direction, not points in the direction, that proves that there is misogynistic there are misogynistic tendencies in Islam, and that is the way that it is. You can't deny that. So why not accept it and move on and say, yes, when the Quran was written, people had a different attitude, but today we don't use that anymore. Today we are better people than the God that wrote it. Let's get on with our lives and do something positive instead of going on how people went about on the Arabian Peninsula in the 7th century. That's outdated. Get moving. That's it.
I want to give a funny example of this. Why don't you this whataboutism? So, like 2 weeks ago, we had a show about geopolitics, and we were talking about like the evil of the Sykes-Picot agreement. So, some smart dude in the chat said like, "Oh, why are you only talking about Islam and you're not talking about the evils of Western powers?"
Yeah, exactly.
So like, we're just having a show about how evil the Sykes-Picot agreement was.
But you know that I'm still arguing with this guy. He's still today going, no, we should actually bloody well go and talk about something else, because if we talk about Islam being bad and evil and blah, 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 we also must talk about every other, ideology that has ever been bad in the history of mankind. It's stupid. This is the gin and tonic show. This is not, the crochet, knitting, or whatever class. No, we're talking about Islam.
Correct. That's the focus of this. If you want to have your own show and focus on, the bad that the West has done, then go and do that. But we're focusing on Islam because and I personally think that it's one of the greatest, if not one of the greatest problems in the world today. And so
exactly. And if people don't agree, well, then bring your evidence. That's what it is. Instead of telling me, yeah, we're always wrong and we don't know what we're talking about and we're a bunch of idiots and bigots and I don't know what, well, then bring the evidence and I am prepared. You see, this is the difference. I am prepared to change my mind. If somebody goes and brings me evidence about something, I will say, oops, I did not know that. Thank you very much for educating me. And I will update my knowledge. And that's it. That's how you learn.
Yeah, I would love someone to prove to me that Islam is a feminist religion. That would be a breakthrough. I'm still waiting. I have a challenge, and I told you before. Like somebody told me there was a hadith that women in Islam are men are required to give their wife pleasure before they achieve their own. And I was like, that would be wonderful if it was true. Bring me a source so I can spread that around, because apparently a lot of Muslim men don't know that. Let's spread the knowledge of the good things. But, all they can do is go, oh, why are you talking about the bad stuff? So prove us wrong, please. That would be wonderful. That would be lovely.
Yes, and I think, I put up a video earlier. I'll see if I can find it again. The reformers, here we go. The reformers, I think, have got a very difficult job trying to reform it, because you have got people that are so entrenched in their views. And so whenever you try to reform it, and obviously Majid Nawaz, here we go. I'll put this in the chat again, and I'll put it here for you guys in this chat. If you watch here, he's claiming to be a Muslim. Same time, challenging other Muslims on the Sharia and other things, but he's got a very uphill battle, because now you've got to reinterpret the Quran in a way that isn't apparently as easy as doing with the Bible. And so
exactly. I mean, sometimes he sounds confused because he'll go against other Muslims, but then when he's confronted with someone who's not Muslim, he feels attacked and he goes on the defense. Like, what are you talking about? Like, so it's kind of funny when he gets hit with the barefaced truth, and then he goes on the defense. Because I saw a video about this British woman who called into his show and was talking, and he was like basically deflecting her as if she was lying or something.
I mean, my question to Majid, if I ever got a chance to ask him, is, Majid, if you claim to be a Muslim and all these things in the Quran are bad, that you're essentially almost sound to me like a Western secularist. So what is it that keeps you or convinces you that Islam is A, true, and B, is of any value? Because you seem to be somebody who basically says they'd be very happy under Western secular society, and you are berating, in my view, rightly so, any Muslim who claims otherwise, and telling them that the things in the Quran, or whatever the case may be, or their views culturally or whatever, are misplaced. Great. So tell me.
In my opinion, like, this is going to sound funny, but he almost sounds like an almost ex-Muslim. Like, he sounds like he's almost there, but there's something stopping him. Because, like, I can relate with his little, inner mental turmoil, because it's like, it's this what is it, cognitive dissonance, when you read the Quran and you can clearly tell yourself, oh, I don't agree with that, I don't agree with that, I don't agree with that, but still are convinced that the basic fundamental ideas that God is real and heaven and hell are real. Because it's one thing disagreeing with certain ideas in the religion, but going that huge leap and being like, Allah is not real, that's hard. That's a leap.
Basics. There's another thing I want to point out. I can understand Majid very, very well. I had this schizophrenic attitude, because in South Africa I was the biggest critic of apartheid. So when I was there, I was a big loudmouth. I was like the Peter Dirk Ace guy, bringing confrontation everywhere. Now, when I was in Germany, because I was studying in Germany for a while, people started criticizing South Africa and apartheid. And then suddenly I turned around and I said, listen, what the hell are you talking about? It's not that bad. It's not like what you are telling me it is like. Yes, there is a lot of bad, but it's not the way that you are telling me. So I became suddenly a defender of the system. So, and then I went back to South Africa, and there was a critic again. So, there is this dissonance somehow when you feel attacked, when it's not 100% justified, that you suddenly find yourself defending a position you don't really have. So I had this, and I was very much aware of it. And I looked at myself a couple of months later. I thought, what the fuck are you doing? So absolutely.
Can I say two things, like psychological things, like what's probably going on in maybe not his brain, but like someone that is bordering on becoming an ex-Muslim, is like there's a battle between the left side of his cortex and the right side of his cortex. So the left side is probably clinging on to what he always believed, which like, and the right side is like looking at the world more as it is. And then the trick is to get the right side to kind of overwhelm the left side. So he suddenly sees that this
I like
is
the sound
not
effect. And the thing is that it's possible that maybe he'll never leave. Maybe he'll kind of have that inner turmoil for the rest of his life and just stay in that, because there are a lot of people who do that. And the trick, the way that they're able to function, is that you just don't think about it. So the thing about him is that he actually does talk about it. So that's why I feel like he might he might be on the borderline, because when you don't talk about Islam, when you believe it and you don't talk about the contradictions, then you don't have to think about them. But
has he ever said what he appreciates about Islam?
I don't know. I haven't watched enough of his content.
That would be definitely the question to ask, because obviously he and Sam Harris did the book together and so on. And Harris has kind of stepped back a little bit from his criticisms. He's still critical, but not to the same degree prior to meeting. So they've kind of rubbed off a bit on each other, but neither one to one degree or the other that would convert the other person or get the other person to completely change their point of view. So, but I want to know, why is he still a Muslim? What is it in there? Is it the truth? And if there is the truth,
he really believing that? Like,
right? You keep saying, why is he still a Muslim? But I already told you, like, he probably thinks Allah is real.
Yeah, but this can be tactics. Remember, this is what I mean. Organization. So what it can be is he can cause a lot more damage inside than if he were talking from the outside, because he can always turn around and say, "What are you talking about? I'm a Muslim." So
yeah, this is what I mean. I think it's
much more effective.
I think it's his pragmatic approach to it.
Right. Yeah, that could be, yeah. So it could be a tactical thing. Hey, I'm a Muslim and I'm going to reform it from the inside, rather than become an ex-Muslim and then try to, quote, reform it from the outside. But
exactly, because then he's just another Islam hater, which at the moment nobody can tell him.
Well, obviously people do. Well, they don't say he's an ex-Muslim. They can't do that specifically, but they can reject him. And obviously
they might call him not a real Muslim.
Yeah, or whatever.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but still the strength is not as, they will never be as strict with him as they are with me.
Well, I think they would be emotionally, but it's more difficult to try and do it in other ways, because
yeah, of course. But they're more willing to argue with him, because they'll just be like, oh, you've got the wrong idea. Like, let me educate you. You're thinking of the wrong thing or something.
Yes, yeah, maybe that's also the other part of it, is that perhaps some of the critics that are sort of much more critical of us, for example, won't be with him, because they go, maybe in their mind, they go, do you know what, he just doesn't know. If we could educate him, he would stop saying these sort of things. With us, there's very little chance that we're going to change our mind. But, maybe that's another part of it. So to blunt some of the incoming criticism would be for him to make them think potentially that he's just misunderstanding it, and if he could just understand it, then of course he would stop saying this, because they can't say he wouldn't be a Muslim. He is a Muslim, or claims to be a Muslim. So yeah, maybe there's a lot more to it than one can see at first sight.
I wonder whether Muslims actually understand that when they are saying that everybody is born a Muslim, that gives you more ex-Muslims than Muslims on the planet.
Yeah, I never understood that either, because I said before that, like, okay, say that you're raised in Christianity. When you want to convert to Islam, you have to say Shahada. I was like, but if I was born Muslim, that means I never said Shahada. I never converted. They're like, oh, because you're born Muslim. Okay, well, if they were born Muslim, they don't have to say Shahada either. So So it's such a useless, pointless
Yeah,
practice.
exactly. So there's
Well,
a lot
their
of
response,
logical catch-use here. Yeah.
but their response will be that we're all Muslims and we're just denying it. So they'll take what's called a presuppositional approach. So Christians made this famous, and this is just another step to try and, hold on to the fitra, because that's all they've got. And I see it from a few of the I-era people at the moment. They've given up on evidence. They do not, they if you try and ask them now, they won't go with the evidence thing, and I'm in the group there with people that follow them very closely. These are the sort of, and I'm using this very sparingly with huge inverted commas, these are the cutting edge Muslims here, as far as we know, in the UK anyway, and they've given up on evidence. So what they're trying to go along is the fitra line, but what they're borrowing from is the presuppositionalist, which is the Christian view that we are all born believing in God, or in the case of Islam, all born with the fitra, and we are just denying it. We are just either unaware of it or we actively deny it. So taking the Shahada just means that we are reaffirming what we were born into. That's how they'll get around that.
Yeah, convince me. Tell me, show me that this is true, and I'll believe it. Until then, I will not.
Yeah, well, as I say, for those Muslims, those quote, and I laugh a little bit when I say cutting edge, the advanced Muslims, they've given up on the evidence thing. You know who I'm speaking about, Stops. And so now it's all about trying to critique naturalism and also to assert philosophical justification. That's all they've got left. I mean, for me, this is brilliant. They've got their back against the wall. This is all they've got left. Most other Muslims, of course, will still try and give you evidence of, evolution not being true, or the cosmos having to have a creator, or fine tuning, or one of the old arguments. That's what most of them would do. But some of them have realized that they've just been hammered by people like Stops and other people so much that they've given up on the evidence thing. So now they've got to try and find another way.
And I'm doing Subur next, and then the other guy.
Fantastic. But again, that approach is quite technical and more advanced, and that's not going to appeal, or most Muslims won't even understand it. They'll get it and they'll hear their Muslim brother speaking, but he'll be speaking sort of, like on a mathematical level to them, to most Muslims, so they won't even understand it. So I think that's a difficult approach to take for a Muslim, not because the evidential approach is easy. They can copy that, they can repeat it. If they do enough of it, they hear the answers, and they can, in their own minds anyway, be relatively competent at having a conversation. Obviously, from our point of view, we don't think so. But trying to go the philosophical route or trying to attack naturalism, that's much harder to try and do. So that approach, that some of those people are taking, you have to do this all day, every day. And then you've got to go and read up all these books, and then you've got to cherry pick, and you've got to do certain things. That's not going to happen in Speaker's Corner.
But the funny thing is that method could be implemented by any theist. So it doesn't prove, it's like I've said before, it doesn't prove Islam. It doesn't prove that Allah is, if there is a God, that Allah is the actual God.
Quite correct. You are 100%. Even if naturalism or atheism, Stops and I have that thing. Even if naturalism or the natural world was not the correct answer, and in fact there was something that we didn't realize that was, quote, supernatural, that doesn't mean that it's Allah. It could be the yellow quantum whisperer. It could, in fact, be Yahweh. It could be one of the Hindu gods. It could be Zeus, who's just returned back to whence he came. He just visited, the mountain in Greece, and he's now gone back. So it could be any one of this. You're quite right. The best they can get to is something supernatural, and we can't describe it. We don't really know much about it. So we're hardly any closer, even if we gave up everything on naturalism and said, we don't know how anything happened, it must have been something magical. That magic is still a complete mystery. But that yes.
That's always my answer to the let me attack your atheist views. You think there's no God at all? I'm like, I've said it from the beginning, when I first left Islam, and I became kind of agnostic at first. Before I was like, I'm kind of atheist. I was like, even if there is a God, I am absolutely certain, I'm absolutely positive that the God that exists somewhere in the ether is not the God of the Quran. He is not a God that exists. And the reason I say that is because the God in the Quran has a specific description. And words say one thing, but actions and what we see in the world do not reflect the description. He's supposed to be merciful and loving and all these things, but his actions, his supposed actions don't reflect.
Be careful there, Lily. I'd be careful there in the following sense. So when you say his actions, what what they will respond to is, no, it's just humans that are fallible. He's infallible, so he's given us the perfect words. It's just the people are.
No, I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about when you say that he's merciful, but then you turn around and say that there's going to be millions of people in hell, and the majority of hell is going to be women, and you know, he's even going to send some Muslims to hell.
Yeah, but they've got an easy answer, Lily. They just say that, you know, that's your free will. Now, obviously, none of us believe in free will here, but they will just say, no.
And that's his own specific brand of mercy.
And the perfect laws, just the people have chosen not to follow them. And so, no, it's nothing to do with him. So what I'm saying to you is that's you're putting yourself, from my point of view, seemingly in a difficult position when you try and argue from that point of view as to why it couldn't possibly be him, because of all these negative things.
I still believe it, because I mean is I still believe that he's not, because I'm talking about the stories of the Quran specifically. And when you go through them and you read the entire book, and you're like, they have a description of how he is, and then they have a description of things that he said, you know, little stories back in the day when he used to interact with humans, because he doesn't do that anymore. And when you
so let's do it. I'm gonna, because I do it every now and again. People seem to enjoy it. I'm gonna pretend to be a Muslim. You tell me why you're an atheist. Give me and I will give you the responses best I can, to the best of my ability. I've heard.
Well, that's the thing right there. You said tell me why I'm an atheist, not tell you why I'm not a Muslim anymore, because that was what I was just saying.
Anymore. Yeah. How's that different there?
Do we have enough time
go through
all the reasons?
What's the biggest reason that you are, and I pretend I'm a Muslim that you're speaking to, what's the biggest reason that you are an atheist?
Why do we still ask this type of questions? Like, I can't even narrow it down to one reason, because there's so many reasons. There's so many problems and like little flaws here and there. Like, okay, jinns are supposed to be, I talked about this before. Jinns are supposed to be real. They're in the Quran. It said Allah created jinns before he created humans. Okay, jinns are real. They have description. That they have certain characteristics that we know about them. But yet, you know, even though according to Islam they do have the ability to interact with the human world. And there are plenty of stories of people who have, you know, seen a jinn and had something stolen by a jinn and like interacted with the jinn or whatever. But, you know, we don't have any actual proof of that. And
okay, but hang on
just the absence of proof, I know what you're going to say, just the absence of proof doesn't disprove that the thing exists. But
well, yes, in a sense, can you, if somebody has that experience, can you deny that they have had that experience, i.e. they've had an interaction with a jinn?
No, but I will say that the mind is a very powerful thing, and the mind can convince you of things that are not necessarily happening at the time.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. And even as
other, factors.
Pretending Muslim, I could agree with that point. But what I'm going to say to you is then, but your reason then for leaving Islam, if the jinns is one of your reasons, then that's not a good reason, because you are claiming there's no jinns purely because you haven't seen it. And then of course I wouldn't do it, because it just gets.
But what if I tell you I have seen one? What if I tell you right now that I have seen a jinn when I was 12 years old?
Okay, but then why would you be using that as an example?
No, because you just said that I haven't seen a jinn myself, and I'm saying that if I'm able to convince myself that what I myself saw wasn't real, you know, well, I was sleeping at the time, so it could easily have been a dream, and I can't. So it probably was a dream, and that's the reason, obviously. But you know, usually it's like a shadow in the dark or something. But I at the time I was convinced that it was real. You know, and I told you before that they say that when you go to sleep, you're supposed to recite Ayatul Kursi, and then you won't have nightmares, because the jinn won't be able to attack your sleep. And if you accidentally fall asleep without saying it, then you'll have a nightmare. And so that's what happened to me. I fell asleep without saying it, and I had a nightmare. And I was like, oh, you know, it must be true. That was interesting, because
how do you know it's not true though?
Because this is my reasoning. Before I had ever learned that ayah, I didn't used to have nightmares every single night. But only after I learned it and was given this idea that that's what would happen, then all of a sudden I had a nightmare when I wasn't. But if I hadn't known that, and I had never memorized the ayah before, I didn't have nightmares every single night. I wasn't attacked by jinns in my sleep every single night. But only after I was introduced to this idea, my brain generated this nightmare, because it was like, oh, you didn't do your ritual before bed, so I have to give you a nightmare because you're so deeply convinced that this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, so, okay, but even what you said there, even if I granted you that and said that you hallucinated it and you almost in a sense cause yourself to hallucinate it, that still doesn't show that that jinns aren't real.
Yeah, but like I said before, it's just one it's just one factor in so many factors. There's fasting in Ramadan. That's a big factor too.
What's wrong with
You're
that?
starving yourself and your children and your family for a month because
you're
you
not.
think
You're purifying yourself, and very few people die from it. And those who are ill or who are not allowed to, then don't fast. So, in fact, it's exactly the opposite. You are
How do you
cleansing
know?
yourself. So,
you're cleansing yourself, and
yes,
that's
so
the other thing. How do you know that someone is ill or not?
well, they would say
Just
they're
by
ill, wouldn't
looking
they?
at them.
No, well, they would
But
say.
how do they know if they're ill? How do they know if they
Are
have
they not going to feel bad?
and low blood sugar? Back in the day when we didn't know those sicknesses existed and they just felt kind of woozy, but they were like, oh, take a break from fasting for a day or two and go back to it, because you don't know what's wrong with you. You don't know that you have hypoglycemia and that you're getting low blood sugar, and you could possibly pass out or go into a coma or something like that.
Okay, but even if they did die, that's in the service of Allah, so they're going straight to heaven.
Exactly.
So basically what you're saying is that it's wrong, and I'm showing you as a Muslim here that everything you're saying is incorrect. It's right, because those people that do die who are genuinely.
Well, I don't think that an actual Muslim would say that a person who dies fasting is dying in the service of Allah. They would probably say, well, that was unfortunate and that shouldn't have happened.
Well, no, but if that's the case, then they're implicitly admitting that that person or the practice is not perfect, which they wouldn't do. I wouldn't suspect. I'm trying to be I'm pretending to be a Muslim as best I can who's following this, and the first thought that comes to me is, no, he's just yeah. Of course, it's unfortunate in the sense that we don't understand the greater purpose for it, but Allah knows best, as we all know, and so.
But how do
he
you
died from this? He was doing what he was
defend
supposed to do.
fasting?
He's gone straight to heaven.
How do you defend fasting for 30 days as a perfect practice? Even when I was a Muslim, I didn't defend it. I was miserable doing. I don't think. Well, cleansing isn't the reason that I was giving for why we do it.
What were you given?
I was told that we have to feel hungry so we know how poor people feel, so that we're grateful for our food at the end of the month for the rest of the year.
I've never heard that. That's interesting. The Muslims that
I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know that that's a commonplace thing.
And
then also,
body mind.
That whole thing about doing it for Allah or whatever, which that in itself, it's a very vague statement to say, you're not doing it to physically like get out all the food that's in your body as like a a detox cleanse or whatever, like when you drink a bunch of tea. You're doing it for Allah, and it's just that's it. It's like point blank period, because I said so. So that's not a good enough reason. Like, what do you mean I'm doing it for Allah? Does Allah require me to be hungry? Is he not capable?
He's giving you instructions to follow because he knows what's best, and you don't. So you just need to follow them.
Well, exactly, and that right there is not good enough for me.
Okay, but that's how Muslims rationalize it, especially Shias. They love this. This is why they have this this sacrificing for their God thing.
Fair enough. And there's two ways to go, and one is the way you're going, Lilith, which is, hey, the reasons I'm an atheist, or the reasons X, Y, and Z is because of all these reasons. The other way is Stops' way, which is, hey, I just reject your claim that the God exists. Because there's no good reasons and evidence. Boom, that's it, done. And then you don't have to defend, because you are, and I actually would defend it to a degree like you would, but I do it on a much higher level than you. And this is not saying that you're right or wrong. It's just there's different approaches to do it.
No, it's fine. It's just that the reason I've developed this line of thinking is obviously because I was, believing that a God existed for so long, for 25 years. So from birth, from not birth, but from being a little kid, in a kindergartner, believing like, okay, there's a God, like my mom told me there's a God, so of course, why would she lie to me? So
Well, she wouldn't, would she? She
So
wouldn't know lying is knowingly speaking an untruth.
right,
And
exactly.
she
So
was.
she
wasn't, technically, she
was
wasn't lying. She's mistaken,
absolutely
probably.
convinced that
Yeah,
was true.
but
So
she's
she
not
taught me
lying.
what she believed to be true.
Correct.
Exactly. So I didn't question it. So I don't see. I'm not inclined to automatically attack the like, hey, there's a God claim, because I believed the God claim myself. So it's more about the individual, the specific factors in Islam itself, and the entire practice and the different things that, you know, was practiced. Obviously, I'm not talking about different sects that I'm not familiar with, because I was a Sunni. So therefore, I'm only talking about things that that I did or that I was taught.
Yeah. The only thing I notice is when you talk, the Muslims could easily say, well, that's just your point of view. That's just your personal opinion because you had a tough life. And so now you
had a tough life.
And I guess the question is, have you got reasons that are objectively harder for them to dismiss as just your personal
that
opinion?
are like, you know, personal opinion. Well, the first thing is that, you know, why is my personal opinion invalid just because it happened to me? But you know, and I wouldn't say that I, you know, had a completely miserable life, you know, I was the worst, but I would say that Islam negatively impacted my childhood and my upbringing and later in life. And the reason I say that is because if you compare my life, how it would have been if I had not been raised Muslim and Islam had no impact on me, my life would have been significantly different. In fact, I might not even be alive right now if my parents had not converted and made a bunch of babies, because, you know, they were convinced that you had to have as many kids as possible, because that's, you know, one of the things. I mean, 14. My dad had like maybe 14 kids because he wanted to make as many little Muslims as possible. The thing that you were talking about earlier about population.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, like, you know, oh, these are my subjective reasons and there are no objective reasons, but I don't usually attack go after bringing up the objective reasons, because if I talk about the subjective reasons, then a lot of times Muslims will actually, you know, agree with me, but then they won't agree on the reason why, or they'll say, like, I agree that this is you know, not necessarily a good thing, but, and then they'll, like, you know, try to rationalize it or something.
Yes, and I guess it depends on like what's your outcome. Are you just wanting to share your story with people, so that to allow more people to go, oh yeah, I'm not the only one, or are
I'm
you
not purposely trying to deconvert anyone?
Okay.
You know, unless it's someone that I know personally, that's, you know, off of YouTube, and that I'm talking to personally that's struggling with someone, then I'll, you know, have a serious conversation with them. But, you know, my goal is not always like deconversion. It's just sometimes people are curious about things that they don't necessarily know about. There are Muslims who aren't very educated about Islam, and there are non-Muslims who might even be interested in Islam and they want to convert to Islam, and they have to know what they're getting into. So, you know, in that case,
I think you're right. You can't. I don't think you can deconvert anyone. This has to come from them themselves. You can only get them, like Rob always says, you need to somehow activate critical thinking. That's the end of that one.
And they've got to be open to it as well. So they've got to be going, oh, like, I'm not so sure about this. If they are like very sure, like, for example, you know, Sarah's mom or your mom or whoever, then it's unlikely that they're going to, no matter what questions you ask or what information you bring, they'll brush it aside. We as human beings have got that ability to just be irrational. But not realize that we're being irrational, or even if we do, we're still somehow able to rationalize it, which is like a crazy disparity that we have as human beings if we want to hold on to something very clearly. But you're right, and for me it's speaking to people like yourselves and anybody that's questioning, those people that are dogmatically accepting it and there's nothing will change their mind, not interested in speaking to them, don't really want to hear from them. Those are not people that I care about in any sense, unless they get to the point where they go, do you know what, if every Muslim came and said, you know what, I'm going to step out of being a Muslim, and I'm going to pretend to do my best to be objective and look at it from the outside. I'm going to be a Christian, or I'm going to be a Hindu, or I'm going to be an atheist, or whatever, and I'm going to look at the religion as if I'm not inside it. Those are the people that one could then have that conversation with. But most of them, as we
That's
know, which is
exactly
fine.
what happens, and that's probably what I did subconsciously when I first started looking at it from an objective. Because, like I said, when I read the Quran when I was a kid, it was like from a kid's point of view, and then took a break, take like a 6-year break, don't look at it, go back and look at it again, and it's like, oh, this is not what I remember. It's not that it's not what I remember, but it's like I'm looking at it from a different perspective now, from an adult perspective or from an outside perspective.
Yeah, and that's ideally what we'd like to have more
and
of.
There's even a saying, I don't know if it's Hadith, but they say that every time you read the Quran, you interpret it in a new way, or you find things that you didn't necessarily, you come to a different understanding of it every time, and you find things that you didn't find before. And it's funny that they would say that, because it's like you're saying that you have a text that you're admitting can be interpreted in different ways, as if it's a good thing. And it's not, because it's supposed to be the manual for all life on earth for the rest of time. Anyway.
Cool. Anything more from anybody? Because I think we've had a good show here. Anybody want to add anything?
No.
I want to say something.
Okay, if it's short. Just kidding. Go
on. I just want to talk about the fact that some people like to throw the bigot word around.
Yeah.
You're a bigot. Like, I don't care. Is that supposed to make me afraid? Is that supposed to stop me from saying what I feel? I don't care. It's kind of annoying, honestly. I remember having a chat with someone, and he was a Muslim guy, and he kept saying that, and I told him, say that if you want. Doesn't change the fact that, I don't even want to say it in this show, but anyways.
I actually prepared a crazy comment about that, where someone attacked Tom
Sarah,
Holland.
you're not a bigot, you're just racist.
You're a racist, sexist, fascist, misogynistic, Islamophobic, homophobic, transphobic, bigot, Nazi,
you're
Orientalist.
Racist against Muslims. Admit it.
Because of course the ideology is always. Yeah.
It's most Islamic, and also, I mean, if they want to say Arabs, I'm Arab, so. Yeah. Like,
yes,
I remember
definitely not Arab.
I remember this girl saying that to me. She didn't know I was Arab, and she was like, "Oh my God, you're so racist, like against me because I'm Arab." And I said, "I'm Arab too, so you can go ahead." And
I thought you were both Mexican.
Right? Everyone in the chat said I'm Mexican, so I'm just gonna assume that personality from now on.
And your homeland is Madagascar, right?
What?
I'm actually from Mars.
Soy mexicana con orgullo, no te olvides.
That
I'm
explains
actually
it.
an Anunnaki. I've existed for 6,000 years. I'm a young Anunnaki, I influenced all of civilization.
Did you bring the microorganisms from another planet to start life on Earth? That was you, wasn't it?
Yes, I'm the mother of
All right.
humans.
Mother
Let's
alien.
wrap this up now before it gets too late here for the ladies.
It's early for me. It's like
it's early for you, aren't you? You guys, yeah, it's late for us. Abu, have you got the hadith of the day, the one that was sent to us in the chat there?
I don't know what this is, but I'm going to read it. Narrated by Abdullah ibn Abbas. A blind man had a slave mother who used to abuse the Prophet ﷺ and disparage him. He forbade her, but she did not stop. He rebuked her, but she did not give up her habit. One night she began to slander the Prophet ﷺ and abuse him. So he took a dagger, placed it on her belly, pressed it, and killed her. A child who came between her legs was smeared with the blood that was there. When the morning came, the Prophet ﷺ was informed about it. He assembled the people and said, I adjure by Allah the man who has done this action, and I adjure him by my right to him that he should stand up. Jumping over the necks of the people and trembling, the man stood up. He sat before the Prophet ﷺ and said, O Messenger of Allah, I am her master. She used to abuse you and disparage you. I forbade her, but she did not stop. And I rebuked her, but she did not abandon her habit. I have 2 sons like pearls from her, and she was my companion. Last night she began to abuse and disparage you. So I took a dagger, put it on her belly, and pressed it till I killed her. Thereupon the Prophet ﷺ said, O be witness, no retaliation is payable for her blood. Sahih Baish.
He was so in love with the Prophet that he killed his own woman.
Thereupon the Prophet said, "O be
He
witness,
said, I am her master. She was a slave.
She was a slave, but he had children with her. I mean, she's kind of his
Yeah.
woman,
I mean,
companion.
I'm not saying like, oh, she was just a slave. Like, no, but
I mean,
like,
but technically, aren't
the
all
kid-
Muslim women just slaves?
start with that. We just had a whole conversation. Dang, that was disgusting. Let me look at it again.
I
Oh,
can't
dang,
believe that he actually
Oh.
murdered her. And
The craziest part is that he put the knife on her belly, like he was trying to kill the baby.
yeah, I mean, because men that used to marry, not marry, excuse me, when they used to have children with the slave woman,
He didn't want the
it's
slave
not-
baby to
it's
live.
like that child, the value of that child isn't that great to him, because then wouldn't the children just be his own slaves too, even though they are his children? Eventually, it's kind of
No,
like
this is not
slave
like in the
masters.
Jews. This is not like in the Bible. There is no
But at the
ruling
bottom-
on because in the Bible the children of your slaves are your slaves, but in Islam you don't get that. At least I have not seen it anywhere.
Yeah, but look
There's
at the
no
bottom.
general-
He says, I have 2 sons from her.
Yes,
So
but
he's
there is no
acknowledging
general
them.
ruling that the sons from a slave are automatically your slave. That there is no. I have not seen this mentioned anywhere.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I mean, at least, I mean, it's kind of strange to have children and you're like, oh, they're pearls and they're amazing, they're precious.
I killed
But
their mom, though.
is like yeah, I killed their mom and she was my slave the whole time.
Well, the funny thing is, how can there be any compensation if she was a slave? This I don't understand.
Well,
Because in the Quran it says, okay, yes, if you kill somebody else's slave, then it's a man for a man, a woman for a woman, and a slave for a slave. But if you kill your own slave, there is no compensation anyway. So I don't quite understand this hadith.
But at the very end, that's why at the very end he said there's no retaliation to be paid for her blood.
Exactly. Who would he pay this to? Because this is a slave.
And also,
Nothing.
why, if Islam is so great, why is slavery still part of Islam, and why wasn't it, abolished or?
It's in the Quran. He didn't say, hey, you guys, guess what? Don't have slaves. He was like, you can still have slaves. You just have to treat them nicely. That's like saying, oh my gosh, that's like, you can still rape. You just have to rape nicely.
There's a question now. See the first answer: Judaism, stack exchange. Should Jephthah have sacrificed his daughter? This is something we talked about a week or two ago about the Jews, where the God says, "Yes, I can sacrifice you. I am going to take your daughter if I'm going to let you win this battle." Why should I go and read this again? I think this is sick. I'm not going to read this again.
Raping me softly with his words.
Oh my God.
Okay, but can anybody answer why there should be any sort of compensation?
No, I have to. Maybe Sheikh Albani has made a comment on this. So if anyone have a link to, I don't have that book at home, but I think he made comments on his Tasheel.
For me, this is a bit puzzling at the moment.
Yeah, it's puzzling, but if anyone can send me a link to Sheikh Albani, what he says about, maybe I can find it, but not tonight.
Good. Well,
What time is it for
on
you
that
guys?
note, it's now getting on
Midnight.
to 11, and for Stops and Abu, probably on to 12 or later, possibly.
Yes.
It's at least.
It was
at
really
least
nice
half.
talking to you guys. It was super fun. I like to listen to you guys.
Thanks
you
to
very
see
much.
Having you.
Thanks for having both
Thank
of
you.
you. Keep telling
I
your stories.
apologize for
That's
all
nice.
the dirty old men, the chauvinist pigs in the chat. I hope you're not reading it.
I'm gonna go
Stops
read it
is
now.
a lesbian feminist.
Yeah.
I be-
No, he's an expert at the G-spot, I know.
Well put. So next week we'll have the second part, Abu, if you're available, of the geopolitical.
no.
Oh, I thought of the
I'm
G-spot.
sorry.
Ah.
I'm so busy right now.
Okay.
I don't have time to prepare anything.
All right, no worries. Any quick thoughts on what we could do next week? Is anything from the ladies that you would like us to discuss, and you may or may not be available, even if you're only listening? Is there a topic that you might want to discuss?
I can't think of anything right now, but if you do come up with a topic, like send me a message in advance so I can plan ahead to if I'm gonna come on.
Can we talk about orphans and adoption in Islam?
Orphans are not. I mean, that's
Yeah,
just
orphans.
a quick thing.
That's a topic. Yeah, you can talk
Orphans
about
are
I don't know much about that, so presumably other people have
Muhammad was orphan.
information.
Well, I mean, there was a thing talking about how in Islam it's not advisable to adopt
Yeah, but only later.
kids. Yeah, only
I
later.
mean,
So I
the
mean, that's not in the.
The topic of orphans is actually one of the few topics where you maybe can say something good.
Yeah.
Part of
I mean,
it, yes. Unless you're talking about that, you can actually go if you have an orphan and you adopt them, and then you can marry the orphan's wife. That's not so good.
Yeah.
I mean, we can make this a topic if you guys want to. I don't know
And
much
you
about this.
create a lot of orphans, and then you
Part
go
of
and you
a
marry them.
topic.
Ah.
We can
Yeah,
discuss
it's just a
different
little.
things.
Yeah, we should talk. We should pick a broader topic.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of substance here, because there are
Yeah.
different views, different ways of approaching orphans. You can look at exactly what I was just saying. You can look at
Okay,
the good
before you
sides, you can look at the bad sides.
Stops before you go into it, because obviously this will be good content for next week. Is it something? Are you available, or are some of the other panelists available just to talk about this? Because I don't know much about this. So
Unless the runway is locked again.
is that what happened?
Yeah. Yeah, a plane lost a tire, and they first had to inspect to see whether this had left some gouges or something on the top.
Yeah, it just leaves debris on the runway, which you don't want
Exactly.
to get sucked into the
So
engine.
we were circling and circling, and we were lucky that we didn't have to divert.
Oh, jeez. Well,
What
you
is
can pick the topic and then let us know for next week.
Cool. We'll do orphans in Islam then. Orphans in Islam. That's fine.
Something else. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, we will do that. So thank you to the panelists. Special thanks to our special guests who would love to have you more regularly when you're available. I know it's different timing and not so easy for you, but thank you to Lilith and Sarah, and as always to Stops and Abu, and to all the viewers and those who participated in the chat. And we will see you next Friday. Thank you very much, everyone.
Peace, you guys.
Cheers.
Good night.
Salam.
Bye.